We're looking at a roughly flat open right now for the S&P 500. So that wasn't always the case. We had this gap up initially. This looks like in the post-market, then initially gap down pre-market, but we did get a recovery in that. Looks like that 7:30 a.m. 15-minute candle. As CNBC reports that U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent could tap the nearly $1 trillion Treasury general account to fund some of these bond buybacks that were first hinted at last week. We're supposed to get some more announcements here from Scott Bessent today, so keep that in mind. I was seeing 10 a.m. on the calendar. I was also seeing potentially 2 p.m. So as I get more details, I'll keep you guys posted. But either way, we are expecting an announcement from Treasury Secretary Bessent. We'll discuss that more in a little bit. But yeah, as of right now, I mean, in terms of economic data going forward, it's a light one today with that 8:30 a.m. Chicago National Activity Index. Not really a market mover, but we will get something that's very often a market mover at 10 a.m. on Friday. That's going to be new Fed Chair Kevin Warsh's speech at the Jackson Hole Symposium. So we're gonna have to wait and see what happens there. And we have to talk about Nvidia, because NVDA, another major name on focus, they're gonna be reporting earnings on Wednesday after the bell. CrowdStrike, CRM also posting Wednesday earnings. You're also going to get Chinese ADR and retail earnings in focus this week too. And, you know, a lot of the stories from last week are going to continue to be in focus, like Bitcoin. There's a lot to discuss. Good morning, Sia. What's on the docket for today?
Good morning. Yes, definitely a lot on the docket. First of all, as we did talk about, focus being oil and what is going to happen with the Strait of Hormuz. So like Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent even said that the single greatest financial offensive ever, Adara, that's going to be something that you're going to look out for. And as Tehran is not going to stay silent, they are going to retaliate, and they already have. They have threatened to seize vessels that violate transit rules in the Strait of Hormuz. So there is a lot going on with at least the oil sector. We're also going to talk about Nvidia. We're talking about Tesla today. There's a lot to cover, a lot to talk about. Stay right with us.
Yeah, right now for you guys, just heading into the morning, I guess what would be, and I mean speculatively at this time, your top trading idea so far? Something you think might be your top trading idea?
Yeah, it's hard not to be thinking about chips, that's just how it is. Like, Nvidia's going to raise prices. You also have, crypto's been strong. So I feel like the last week you had ETH doing really, really well. You had Bitcoin doing pretty well, but a lot of that move was going to be, mostly overnight. So look, we know Nvidia on Wednesday is going to be a big deal, but it just feels like everybody that talks about or even mentions that they want to raise capital, they're just getting burned so badly. So we'll have to deal with AOI and Alibaba, a couple of names that are to the downside for that reason. So AOI is now 12.5%. Yuck.
Yeah, we're looking at a few different names. Yeah, we got a new little setup here. So we can't really see what cameras are on us right now at all. So we'll just continue to look forward here at some point. But yeah, the Watchlist has a couple incorrect things in it there today as far as all the numbers are. But go down to the stories. Those are the big ones you guys asked us about that. You can see here USO definitely, and those flies are still around, and they're really very, very excited to get part of our hair one more time, or whatever hair we do wind up having. But there's USO right now down 1.46%. This should be an interesting name to look at today, down just a little bit on some more easing of some tensions there in Iran. So that should be something to look forward to there. Bitcoin, as you guys can see, 78.2 right now coming through. So that should be something to watch out for. And names like Robinhood on a little bit of a pullback, Adara, I think that's something to watch out for here today. The Robinhoods of the world. Well, actually, Robinhood now has kind of made its way back upside there. Was a little downside as Bitcoin having a problem holding that 80,000. How high did we get even up over the weekend? I didn't have a look. I don't think we really broke through that $80,000 yet. But yeah, we do have a whole bunch of different things coming for you in this first half hour where we'll have some more conversations. Hopefully we've got Joe here, so we're going to do the upgrades and downgrades. But yeah, that's what's going on for me right now. A little bit of oil, a little bit of crypto.
Yeah, still NOSPOS, which should be coming on through, which should be good. Adara, obviously, like you were saying this morning, it might not be as crazy in terms of movement, but this is a pretty big week.
Yeah.
Because Nvidia is a big deal. You're interested in Jackson Hole. But one thing we have not mentioned whatsoever yet is the fact that we are now focused on the Treasury more than the Fed. It's like we'll be seeing Bessent a heck of a lot more than I think we anticipated this week.
Yeah, and that's actually what I wanted to talk about next, which is really perfect transition. And quickly, I want to mention MSTR and Watch 2. We're going to be talking a lot more about crypto during that morning rundown, so stay tuned, guys. But as of right now, they're doing their Monday update in terms of how many Bitcoin they're holding. They've got 840,447 BTC, an aggregate purchase price of $75.39 billion as of Sunday. So looks like they apparently added some. We'll have to wait and see, I guess, how all of that shakes out. But let's talk here about the markets, because I already mentioned around 7:35 or 7:30 a.m. rather, you had this little spike here in the SPY. That's because the CNBC report, citing two officials within the Treasury, suggests that the Treasury Department actually could have a plan for some of these larger buybacks they announced last week. Apparently, they're going to be using their general account, which is valued at up to $1 trillion. We're also going to get some more updates, Sia, with regards to their Iran sanction plans. I was seeing either 10 a.m. or 2 p.m. today, so wildly different times. But either way, Besant expected to speak.
Absolutely, yeah. He's expected to speak as of today. And Treasury secretaries do know it has said that such operations could be potentially even larger than the new higher minimum. So they did surprise markets last week. We saw that reactions over there. And the United States will, like I said, be unveiling the single greatest financial offensive ever. So that's also something you're going to have to keep a lookout for. He said in a post as well on X on Sunday evening that at dawn begins an economic D-Day.
Yep, so he's definitely mirroring the comments that Trump made, using those words as well. So I guess one way you could always trade this, potentially looking here at TLT. This is the 20-year plus ETF. So you guys can see we did get a little bit of action in this ETF, but I guess how would you guys look to trade this type of talks when it comes to Besant and, you know, this economic war chest and these buybacks?
So, I mean, it's a couple of things to consider. There's the Iran part. Okay, we'll keep an eye on USO and how that's going at the end of the day. And then that could be a bit of a fray potentially for like China's relations, because China is one of the countries that, you know, would be supporting along with Russia. So that's where a lot of the sanctions might end up being. But from the other side of it, everyone knows the Treasury doesn't print money. So anything that they do to try to affect the yield curve, right? Like they just raise more debt to pay other parts of debt, and then that's going to be a big concern. I think in the long run, you've seen this sort of weigh on the market from the NASDAQ point a little bit here. But yeah, I want to look at USO if we're just going back to the first part of it, because it feels like we made a little bit of a top, which I kind of like over there in USO. Like we hit this like 136. We've had the escalations of tension, and now you're talking about economic D-Day, and oil's gapped down. So I think that's not a bad sign for us here. Like, oh, we've reached a bit of a top. It's like, oh, well, things are maybe as bad as they can get in the short term, and then maybe we can get a little bit of relief here. So I do like the fact that USO is gapping down today. It's not enough to make me overall bullish, because I think the problem is you look at all the chip names, and they're going to weigh the markets down this morning, and that's pretty much what's going to move things. But no, I do like the fact that we've made a bit of a crest here. But you have to keep your ear to the ground. It's all about, like, at the end of the day, one single headline, one little bit of an escalation can do it. But I do want to acknowledge in the chat, and you can also see with the new view when we go to, you go back to the desk, we're staring at the chat right now. And oh
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so I can see everyone mentioning this Lucy stock, innovative eyewear. So the story here with this, and it's a penny stock. Lucy's a penny stock. At least I think it was a penny stock the last 5 minutes. So no, it's still 83 cents. So it hasn't moved as much as maybe some people would have liked. It's still like 82, 83 cents. They've entered into a strategic alliance with HTC Corporation. That's the story. What kind of short float do we have going on here? Only a 4% short float and 8.5 million float overall. But that's at least one small capper that's running a little bit here for the traders. But keep your, like, just going back to the overall market and sort of going back into where USO is, the fact that it's economic D-Day and oil futures are down, I take it as positive.
Obviously we have some problems here with Canada and U.S. as well.
Oh,
with
goodness, yeah.
Sort of trade war that's been happening. Here we go back and forth, and no trade deal. This is what, and now Canada threatening to, put their own sanctions back in and more tariffs and just back and forth with all of that. We still have 60%. This is coming on September the 16th. So we have 60% right now chance for a no cut or no hike, and 40% chance for a rate hike. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening there in less than, oh yeah, that's right. I got to go the other way on my screen right now. In less than 1 month time, because it's September 16th. right around the corner. Yeah, you mentioned some of the chip names there today. Even if we go back over and we look at some SpaceX, I mean, that's something that always looks to be traded right in the middle right now, 134, kind of just stuck here. A little bit of a downside push underneath this 135. We'll wait to see if SpaceX get going. But yeah, IBIT, interesting, right? We saw Bitcoin move around. Let's call up some Bitcoin charts right over here if I can pull it back over to this side. There it is right here. Yeah, I know that fly just buzzing around. Looks like the highest we got was 79. So we actually never wind up breaking through 80,000 there on BTC. Looks like it wants to hold higher. I'm looking forward to a little bit of a higher move here today in BTC as we try to break through this 78 and change. Even if you go down to a little bit of a lesser time frame right here as we get this all figured out. And bear with us, and thank you for joining us one more time here as we have a new formation this morning as we'll be talking hopefully more and more to each other as we get going. But it looks like we do have a little bit of a bid here around 77.8. Adair, we had some Coinbase movement as well this morning. Robinhood, Coinbase, some of those names moving around there. We're already through earnings, so not 100% sure if we're going to get action based on the Clarity Act. And we have some more talk happening there. The war on crypto maybe potentially started or over. Or what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to. I spent some time in the midday on Thursday, and I believe Ramin also clipped it as it's a YouTube short if you guys want to check that out, where I get a lot more in depth as to my thoughts on the Clarity Act. But basically, my view is there are really three senators that kind of spearheaded this whole movement. One of them's got a lot of personal stuff going on right now, and the other one's actually retiring from the Senate as of January. So time-wise, it's a little bit dicey, in my opinion, right? So that's kind of, and again, I can get into that maybe a little bit more later when we discuss crypto again during the rundown. But I think for the Clarity Act right now, I would not get my hopes too high when it comes to that. Yeah.
50-50 by 2028?
Well, I was thinking by the end of this year, but maybe even.
I think even going into next year, it's still only 50-50 in a coin flip. So, at the end of the day, if that's the reason, everyone's holding out hope for that, everything is over and this is the bottom, I think it's a little bit early. There's still the cycle to contend with, but the reality is money's coming back into it, so price doesn't lie. It's the strongest, one of the strong, I shouldn't say the strongest, but one of the strongest things in the market right now is going to be crypto. But I'd say led by ETH a little bit more than by Bitcoin, for sure. That's actually one thing that we've got to pay a little bit closer attention to. I know Michael Saylor and all of his buys gets all interesting and blah, 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 Bitcoin. But, the last couple of sessions, you had to make the switch. And I know I did. I was trading ETH instead of Bitcoin because Bitcoin was all an inside day, whereas ETH would open higher and then trend higher. And again, it opened another 3% higher and looks pretty strong. So I think that's one place to look. Maybe BMNR comes in play for more people instead of MSTR. Because clearly it's not the one right now. There's no question about it. ETH is taking a bit of a lead.
Well, it's nice because as we sit here and struggle with the NASDAQ and the S&P 500, right, it's nice to see Bitcoin making that 20% move over the last week. So I think a lot of us that have been sort of hoping that BTC wants to eventually go, finally getting that little bit of a break. But I don't know if you guys saw gold today also. That's up 1%. So gold right now trying to kick it a little higher right now. What a nice daily chart gold's had since that break. And I remember we talked about this on this 380. Now you're up there to 430 and trying to break a little bit higher on GLD. So I think, yeah, some of the focus today can be on some other asset classes other than equity, I think, as we get a little slow here. ES only, guys, only right now down 0.19. And the NASDAQ down 0.6. It's I don't know. I feel like the flies have gotten more.
I have I was about to say, since we turn around, maybe it's just because there's more space in front of us that we can see, and they've always been this much. And when our back is turned to the open space, we can't tell.
I don't know what it is.
But it's crazy.
But yeah, let us know if you guys like this. We're gonna have a little bit new format, some new camera angles. Again, I have no idea where we're looking yet, but we'll get this all figured out as this sort of trial continues to go on. But we want to thank Adair for the morning watch list here coming out today, and yeah, we're excited for this. Sharif's still over there across the pond. I saw he was in Paris there. I saw him post.
He's living his best life.
And it's nice because it was so warm all summer, and now I think is a great time to travel in Europe. I know when you were there in London, it was nice.
Oh, we got lucky.
Just missed it.
Yeah, we got very
40 degrees for a long time there in Paris and everything. Have you ladies been to Paris?
No, not yet on the bucket list though.
And that's a bucket list spot for you guys?
Should be.
How about London? Have you been to London?
No, again, bucket list.
Man.
My best friend stays in London, so I'm planning a Europe backpacking tour next year. Hopefully it works out.
And we just found out that you're leaving us in a couple of weeks to go back home.
Yeah, to go back, I will be back though. I'm not leaving.
Oh, you make it sound like she's
not
leaving
permanently
forever there.
leaving
Come
us,
on
not
now.
permanently. It's a little vacation. No, that should be fun. You got any vacation time coming up, Vidal?
No, my parents are actually in Paris right now, though.
Ooh.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
for them.
fun.
I think now we can probably turn it back to local, to Canada, because I know Sean mentioned, we briefly talked about these US-Canada tariffs, but I think in terms of where there could be trades within this space is not something we got too much into.
Look.
So basically, we already kind of know the general story here. US and Canada trade talks kind of falling apart. Auto, steel, all areas that I think are going to be really in focus.
Yeah, absolutely. There are auto, steel as well, but details like Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney, said that they will be coming in a couple of days, and affected goods are spanning wine, as we do know, it has already been affected, but there's dairy, wine, wood products, furniture, cement, ceramics, and a lot of other areas, like you said, steel and auto as well. And as we do know, the Canadian dollar fell a little bit as of today as well, as down 0.61% at the moment, trading roughly around 0.7 region. But targeted goods only comprise around 0.6% of Canada's GDP. But again, like PM of Canada, Mark Carney, has said, and I quote, collapse in exports would still be enough to push an already weak GDP growth back towards zero.
How would you guys be looking at this from like a trading perspective? Do you think there's a direct trade here?
I don't know that there's necessarily a direct trade for a day trade that you'd be really excited about here. But if you're interested in the Canadian economy, it's not like the tariffs are not going to be on everything, but it is a pretty solid portion. If this is protracted too long, there's already a few points of weakness. The growth is already one of the worst in the G of advanced countries since COVID. So
Right.
that would just make things worse. We have a higher unemployment rate, which would be another issue. And so there is a little bit of leverage. Let's be real. The president has some leverage here because our economy hasn't been very strong. But there aren't a ton of ways that I think you want to play this. That being said, there's one name that it's of interest because it's difficult to ignore. It's an auto name, and it's pretty difficult to ignore an accumulation that's happening on it. And like every time I bring up the chart of Ford, it's not that I love Ford, and we all know how Randy feels about it, so like don't add us there, but just have a quick look-see at what's happening on the daily chart. And the $14 level is starting to get a little bit obvious here. Just over and over. It's already bounced to 200 a couple of times to go higher, and now it's just seemingly holding a very key level. And whether or not, like I like to call it accumulation or just a buy zone, like it just gets back down there and then it ramps up, and it gets back down there and then it ramps up and it gets back. And you guys can see the pattern. At some point, as a day trade, you see it at $14 or just underneath $14, and you're a buyer. And the other side of that coin is going to be when it finally breaks out of this zone, because the last few times it gets into those high teens, it's been pretty steady Eddie. It's not been too parabolic, but it has been maybe not as good as GM, but it has been a pretty good, last little run here for at least these guys. The EV names have been trash, but they've decided they want to focus basically away from EV, not completely, and it's done really well for them. That being said, you can see what's happening at the $14. It's a pretty cool pattern, so that's what I'd be watching. But nothing too crazy in terms of trades directly related to the Canada-US, whatever, spat.
No, I think you're in the right spot with the autos. I mean, there's Stellantis and a couple other plants looking to close here potentially without a deal. I was just going to look at some of the banks. I mean, Royal Bank over the last little while, as this has sort of ramped up a little bit, has come from 216 down to 204. TD Bank is another popular one that we can look at. Most of the Canadian banks have pulled back just a little bit here over the last week, possibly into some nice buy zones. Not that bank stocks are the only stocks to look at. We had looked at Enbridge as well, talking about some of the different pipeline names that, I mean, again, I don't think there's a reason to hit these names, but you can see what's been happening to Enbridge here, just really getting back into the downside. And again, Enbridge still does have some pipelines going through the Midwest, Northeast, all over the place there in the northern part of the United States for Enbridge. So potentially some worries there, thinking that maybe, they cut some deals. It gets a little tougher for Enbridge to operate down there in the United States. But this is a nice name too, coming right back into underneath the 200 period, but into some nice levels from February all the way back here into October as well for Enbridge. So just a few little names there, Adair, that I think the banks, some of the pipeline names, maybe some of the Canadian oil companies as well back into the downside, because the U.S. is oil independent, right? So maybe we don't need to
lots of
ship too much down there anymore. But yeah, so that's a quick little look at some of those things. We do have Michael coming on. Did he give you a little bit of an update on what he might be talking about? Or?
I'm not sure actually right now
Oh.
what he's going to be talking about.
Oh,
I
okay.
have not gotten his email, so we'll have to
Fart coin.
if he's talking.
You think? I don't know if it's gonna be any fart coins, but
Well, I don't know. Crypto's starting to pick up a little bit. I think, look, maybe not specifically Farcoin, but I mean, whether or not like we've hit an actual bottom and there's some swings in things like ETH or maybe some. But we don't really look at the altcoins. Let's be real. But we know that Michael does. So I would be interested to see if he sees anything that's maybe breaking out. When you get a turn in a sector, which crypto is, you want to look for what? Relative strength, relative weakness. Like as it's going, what is going with it? What's not going? So you know, I don't know. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. But I feel like that would be an interesting topic because I know there's at least some that are going to be looking for some explosive plays in crypto. And when it's a strong part of the market, that's where the eyes are going to go. When you're trading, you can go long, you can go short. But let's be real. People are usually looking for places that they can be buying things as opposed to selling.
it's always easier. Yeah, it's always easier to catch moves on the way down than on the way up. But at the same time, I think a lot of traders do that, right? It's very easy to average into losers. It's very hard to average up into winners. I feel like that happens very, very frequently as we all get the swatting going on. I do have confirmation that apparently the fly traps, whatever we're using, are supposed to be in today.
Well, you got one already, so.
See, I already killed one sitting on here, over here. All right, we are getting ready for the upgrades and the downgrades. So Andre's going to come in and fix the cameras there for Joe. So we are going back at 8:30. We'll switch around. We'll do the Michael and Austin. We'll switch back around. Yeah. Everybody's saying they can't see the ladies anymore in the background, so they don't necessarily like that. But
Hold on a second.
Everyone's just selfish.
I love that I can see the chat differently now because old wise trader drinking game, one shot of tequila followed by raw tilapia every time Sean mentions SPC. It's got to be SpaceX. SPCX.
But do not take the raw tilapia.
You would be trashed if you took a shot every time.
I mean, I'm not gonna mention SpaceX that much. I mean, whether or not we trade SpaceX today or not, SpaceX should be on everybody's mind. Symbol SPCX.
I feel like you want to take the tequila shot.
That's what I'm saying. We're already getting these guys. No, not for me. It's for these guys.
Not the tilapia, that's for sure.
And we do have, of course, if you check the chat, we do have the donations getting ramped up here. We have only 4 more days, and 5 more days until Fabian chops it all off for charity. So if you guys can get into the chat right now, click on that link. The link's also in the description, and put down a little bit of money there to have Fabian cut his hair there. Hopefully getting to 4 to 5 wigs.
We should if we get to 10K, we get 4. So
that'd be amazing. So we'll see if we can do that and hopefully get some big whales coming in for that one. So I think we're ready now for Joe. So look, this is good. I can turn around, I can see the screen. I know exactly what Joe's gonna be talking about over there. Looks like we're gonna be talking a little bit of Bitcoin with some IBIT. Let's go over to the big screen, I guess, now with Joe and options.
I mean, Sean, it is 5 o'clock somewhere, right? So tequila, why not? All right, guys, let's take a look at some of the options activity from Friday's session, guys. Bitcoin on a little bit of a run, north of 25% off of its lows, ladies and gentlemen. So let's take a look at some of where the derivatives activity is taking place. We're going to kick things off with IBIT at the $44 strike price, expiring this Friday, guys. Now we have 18,000 contracts there. We're roughly around that neck of the woods. $45 was around our high on last week's session. Now, if you look at our bid in the ask, the liquidity is most definitely starting to step back into this name. We're sitting on a $2 spread, but first things first, 18,900 contracts still open at this zone. So there could be a little bit of a resistance area here at this $44 marker. Now, as for the volume, 76,200 contracts open and closed on Friday session. Moving forward, we'll take a look at our Greeks. You can notice that our delta, 46 cents, closer to at the money here, ladies and gentlemen. You'll see a slight increase here after the bell, but our gamma exposure sitting at 13 cents and only 2 cents here in our Vega, considering we are now on the rise, so you might see some form of a compression in your implied volatility, all right? So that'll have an effect on your Vega metric. Now, moving forward, a lot of sideways price action after the appreciation throughout earlier in the week, last week. Friday was some sideways PA, but what we can see is that it doesn't reflect necessarily the exact same appreciation in the underlying as it does in this derivatives contract. So there is about a 50% variance here from the high to this low, but still holding on to its value pretty good. All right, now moving forward, Ethereum, I heard the boys talking about this morning, slightly outperforming Bitcoin, $19 strike price expiring on Friday. We're going to be looking at this level, potential resistance, but we can climb north of that. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, 22,000 contracts still open at this level, and then volume sitting around 15,600. Now our spread, this name specifically, Ethereum, lost significantly more liquidity than what we were experiencing in Bitcoin. It's good to see it step back into the derivative and in the underlying asset itself. Why? Because that shows you that there is more interest within these names. Now, as for the bid and the ask, guys, we're sitting on a $2 spread. Not bad whatsoever. We're not going to complain about $2 spreads here. Now, our delta sitting at 33 cents, 23 cents here on our Gamma, and our Vega exposure. Extremely cool. But what we had last week was a 1,100% return. This is what some individuals in the chat are looking for, those cheaper price out of the money contracts. And then when you get those exponential and fast moves, then that's when you can experience some of these gains. So we go from 3 cents all the way up to 38 cents, giving you a 1,100% return. Now, last but not least, we have Tesla, a name that's been quietly moving higher and higher, especially after the previous earnings report. You have that gap down, and it took some time for us to breach that, and then now we've already filled the majority of it. So I'm going to be looking at Tesla here. Where are we going to run into some potential resistance zones? And that led us to this $380 strike price. Now, 16,000 contracts open at this level with volume sitting around 24,500. Our spread a little bit wider here. I wouldn't be surprised if it tightens up as we continue to appreciate and the volatility starts to cool down. 22 cents in your delta. So you can say that this contract specifically has an 80% chance as of now that it's going to expire out of the money, all right? Don't forget, these metrics are always fluctuating and changing within the price action. Now, Gamma exposure, pretty cool here, only a penny, and then you have your Vega at 16 cents. But what I really want us to focus on is some pretty cool quality appreciation here in this specific contract. This would be the 380, but after the open, sitting around $1.14, and then you have the ability to climb as high as $3.95, giving you a 245% return. Now, we didn't close around these levels, but hey, other than that, some pretty good activity in Tesla over the past week. Let's send it back to the guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, look, Tesla
I like the way Tesla's been looking.
It looked great on Friday. I mean, there's a minor story, like the story about the recall over the door safety. We've heard this one before. Oh, it's not intuitive, blah, blah, blah. But it's a software update that they're going to be making. They're also doing a thing where automatically the windows will come down on a crash, which makes it easier to escape. So it's a big, I guess it's a bit of a big deal because of the size. It's like 4.3 million vehicles in China overall. But yeah, Tesla was very, very impressive on Friday. I always say I don't like breakouts as much on Fridays, but Tesla was an example of one that was very, very clean. You had a really good double top, about 352 that broke out. One concern, it's not, maybe it's a nitpick, but it's true. Like, you just got back over the 50-period moving average, so kind of closing over it today would be the confirmation that you can hold that kind of a major level. Because if we get back and we're even back at 350 or 350, just low to mid 350s, you're failing the 50-period moving average on a bit of a run. And it has been a very steady bounce from 300. There's been 1 or 2 red days, and then we just go back to the upside, and the green days are like every time it's up, it feels like it's up 2 days worth of work. But there's that 2-step pullback in this move that's happened a couple times. I don't wonder if we're not looking to that this week. It's only down 0.5, but then the market's basically that. There's nothing that has it standing out. And my first thought is you might have a dip before we get that next little ramp to the upside on Tesla.
Yeah, no, I think Tesla's been a nice little move over the last couple of days. What do you guys over there on the desk? You guys like the look of Tesla stock? You like Rivian? You guys been looking anywhere in the automotive space?
Yeah, I honestly, for a stock perspective, not ones that I really look at too much. I do have some, we're going to discuss this later on the rundown, but there's some actually analyst notes in terms of where they see for some of these auto stocks going forward, specifically in the AV space. So that's certainly something we're going to be discussing. In the meantime, though, I want to take a moment to bring on Mr. Michael Noss, because he's discussing something that I think is going to be pretty interesting this week. Michael. Good morning, Michael Noss, Stats Edge, CMT. Let's talk here some NVIDIA.
Yeah, I heard that you guys want me to talk about Farcoin, but I'll talk about NVIDIA instead. I'm still an owner, a very small amount, just in case. I'd love to, buy a cheap car or something one day and have a vanity plate. But the real thing that's happening here is NVIDIA. So the slide that we talked about this in May. We already went through this every quarter. We're going to talk about NVIDIA for pretty obvious reasons, right? It's the largest. It's the biggest guy out there, and well, depending on the day, between it and Apple. But more importantly, it's kind of the poster child for how is the AI trade, how is the AI thing going. As long as these guys keep reporting well, the idea from the street is that, okay, we can continue to invest these AI names. If one quarter they come out and absolutely say, yeah, no one's buying our stuff anymore, I think that's where everyone gets a little bit nervous. Now, if you go to the next slide, it's just kind of what we talked about last time. So this is on May 20th. I dug up the old presentation, and we talked about the same thing, is that NVIDIA generally beats earnings and sells off every time. And I posed some rationale behind this. This is kind of making me think of what happened with Apple. Before iPhones, before all this, Apple was just another computer stock on the street. Yeah, it was fairly large or whatever, but very quickly became the largest company in the world. And with that becomes all of the analysts in the world following you around. Right? Jensen cannot go anywhere without everyone reporting exactly what he's doing and who he's meeting with and what he's talking about. So when you're that covered, I think it's just generally the street is going to know what's going to happen. So even if they have an estimate, estimates generally come down lower. It's like 80% of stocks, I think, beat their estimates. Estimates usually come in lower, and just no one's surprised anymore with what happens with NVIDIA because it's just so huge. But this is the next slide is the actual numbers here, and it beat on everything, right? Beat on revenue, beat on EPS. We all know I'm not the guy to really dive into these numbers, but the idea was that it beat, but then next slide is just the chart in which we kind of sold off, and it went down like 18% from those highs when it happened. And the next slide just shows kind of the history that goes on here, where this is the last 4 prints, and the yellow line is just what happens. There's a lot of gap ups and a lot of just sell-offs after that. So that's kind of the worrying bit, or that's what we need to watch out for. Someday this trend is going to reverse. And that, I think, is really going to be kind of catalyst and fuel for the fire to really rip the market, because if everyone is expecting one thing, if the trade becomes this easy, where it's like 5 quarters in a row, you just do the same thing where you beat earnings and sell and beat earnings and sell. As soon as a trade becomes that obvious, I think often the reversal time is coming for it. And if we actually have a positive NVIDIA earnings report and the thing rips, I think that's going to be kind of the telling sign. So here's the pattern quantified on the next slide. On average, we're talking here, we've got gap ups that are roughly 3% or so, give or take, and then 2% the day of, and then only 1 month, only 38% of the time is NVIDIA positive 1 month after they report earnings, considering they generally gap up. And it's just, again, over and over and over again, we see this pattern of they beat everything, they say all the right words, they gap up, and then the market sells into that gap. So what we got to start asking ourselves, is that going to happen again? So here is the next slide is the chart as of Friday. And what's interesting here is that it's already pulled it back into this, where those other charts, if you looked at them, we were at a local high or near a local high, and things were actually looking good going into earnings. In this case, so far, we are down into earnings. So I don't know if that's going to be the first signal that maybe this trend is going to change, but if we can continue, it reports Wednesday after the close, so we have 3 more trading days. If we can continue to be off this local high just a little bit, maybe that puts some kind of odds in our favor. And just what we're expecting. So this next slide is just showing roughly a 7% move, give or take. These numbers obviously fluctuate as time goes on, but this is the market maker expected move. I know you guys do awesome options coverage here as well. And generally speaking, they price in a 7% move, and we've got that 3% to move that usually happens. So the market, generally prices in a larger event than the event that actually occurs. So again, any of these trends that get destroyed this time, these are the things I'm watching out for. If everything just happens the way it always happens, then I don't think there's any signal there. There's no tell. I'm looking for something to happen outside of this, like a gap down and it rips, or it moves above or below 7%, or something like this. I think that's the time that we take notice. If it just does what everyone kind of thinks it's going to do based off all this historical data, I don't think there's a system there. But one caveat on the next slide is that there's 20-ish data points that I have here for, it's been around for a number of years, but not enough that I would consider this like a really robust study. So most studies I do, they're going to have thousands of data points, thousands of trades, just to kind of keep in mind that that's kind of likely what happens. So I don't know what's going to happen this time with NVIDIA, but this is one of those things where I don't think anyone knows. And if we get something that is unusual and unexpected, I think the whole market wakes up and takes notice. And if it's just same old, then I think we just kind of leave it alone and we look for the next catalyst to finally get us out of this range in the market that we've been in for some time.
Yeah, I think just a couple questions here as well. So I know this is interesting here about that implied move versus the actual move. Given that, as you mentioned here, the actual move's often a lot smaller, what would you say to maybe look for here? What caution would you advise? Should we end up getting an implied move that actually matches or maybe even exceeds what we're expecting on Wednesday?
Yeah, and just a quick explanation of this. The implied move is just what the market is pricing in for what they think is going to be the move after earnings. And that's just done by the value of options going into earnings. Essentially, how much are people willing to buy insurance for against NVIDIA if it takes a move? And if those people who have been right most of the time end up being wrong and have to actually pay out, think of your insurance company generally doesn't have to pay you anything, but every now and then a disaster happens and they do have to pay out, then that's kind of the same thing. For us to get a above 7% move, there would have to be some sort of huge event one way or another. Now, this is up or down. So if we get a more than a 7% rip, I think the market's, cranking all-time highs and the Qs are doing fine. And that's a whole lift all boats. The other way would be not so good. If we're getting way more than that move, that could happen. Also, I'm not going to be focusing too much on the gap because, like we talked about, NVIDIA usually gaps up after earnings. The earnings are positive, everyone's hyped up. I'm more interested in what happens in kind of the days and weeks following. Do we get that sell-off?
So I guess, yeah, and then also, too, I guess, how would you be looking to play it? Should we either get that sell-off or not get that sell-off after the fact if we continue to see this pattern come through on August 26th?
Yeah, I think if you want to stick with the pattern, then the move is just to wait till earnings. And if there's a pop, you look. This is a great tool for more semi-discretionary trades. We call them at Stats Edge, where we know what generally happens. And if you are there looking at your charts and you've got a chart up, maybe if there's a gap up, you're looking to the short side. So opening range breaks to the short side or support breaks or something like that. For me, because I'm looking for the unusual, my plan is I'm probably not going to do anything. I'll probably sell some puts going into earnings, maybe collect some premium that way, but I'm probably not going to do anything unless we have this rare event where we actually go up after earnings for a period of time.
Yeah, imagine that for NVIDIA going up after earnings when they continuously report records. Thanks again, Michael Noss, for going over that. And I guess we'll have to wait and see how all of this plays out on Wednesday and actually maybe more aptly on Thursday morning. We'll see Michael Noss, though, on Friday morning, 8:30 a.m. to discuss more charts and more data with us.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Have a good week.
You too. Thank you.
Perfect stuff, and thank you, Michael Noss, also for the extra reply as well, too. Looking forward to some more future conversation. All right, guys, let's take a look at some of the analyst actions here this morning. We're going to kick things off with Domino's Pizza getting the downgrade, going from an outperform to neutral here, guys, with a $350 price target. Barry giving them that downgrade, but the firm also cites valuation for the downgrade with the shares nearing its target price. The firm also notes it does not see a catalyst for meaningful multiple expansion within the company. Moving forward, we're going to take a look at Chipotle Mexican Grill. We're down 1.25 here, going from outperform to neutral, and a $40 price target. That is down from $44. Same analyst giving them the downgrade here, guys, but the firm also notes believes greater reinvestment and thus slower margin recovery will be required for CMG to generate low to single-digit comps versus the mid-single-digit growth it achieved historically. Moving forward, we're going to take a look at some more positive things. Celestica at the top of the list here, guys. 1.3% to the top side, going from a neutral to a buy with a $430 price target. UBS giving them that upgrade. Then we also have a name that we were just talking about not too long ago. NVDA, Cantor Fitzgerald giving them the nod. Overweight rating with a $350 price target. Don't forget, they will be reporting Wednesday after the bell. Excuse me. Now, Reddit also on the list, slightly negative this morning, guys. 1 1/5, going from a market perform to an outperform here. Citigroup with no specific price target, but giving them the nod this morning. And last but not least, we have John Deere, down about 0.1% here, ladies and gentlemen. But we're holding that overweight rating at Barclays and no specific target. Those are the analyst actions this morning. Let's send it back to Neil and Sean.
Reddit and forget it, apparently. Add it to the S&P 500 and forget it. It seems like that's...
It always seems to be like those sell the news situations
unfortunately.
there where you get added in. What was it looking like on the
It might be, it's trying to make a bit of a bottom since then. Look, you got to 180, so you can be happy about that off of some of the lows for Reddit. But it's trying to hold. Like, talk about sell the news. Like, there isn't really an update. It was just like sell, 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 sell. You did catch a good bounce on Thursday, and then Friday for Reddit specifically seemed like a consolidative day that held 150, but we just barely bounced off that one this morning. So yeah, that's a name to watch. If 150 can hold, maybe you get a bit of a relief rally for Reddit in here. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with, just being a little bit patient. Whether we call it the 3-day rule for earnings or let something settle down after anything major, I think you can think about the same thing when it comes to anything being added to a major index. In this particular case, Reddit just happened to take the short end of the stick. But you know what we keep seeing in the chat? The right read, everybody. The right setup, the wrong size. And the truth is, you have skills. You're just with an account that's too small. TradeFunner is going to change that for you. You got $100K for stocks, $25K for options today. You can keep 80% paid every Friday and never risk your own money. $9.99 to start, and you're refunded on your first qualifying payout. You can start within 1 hour without evaluation, no background checks, just you and the size to trade that you've been missing. So scan the QR code right on your screen in front of you, tradefunder.com. You can choose stocks or options. I want to shout out to them for sponsoring this portion of the show, TradeFunder. But yeah, as he said, as Michael was sort of saying there, Nvidia this week.
Yeah, Wednesday night. Yeah, it should be a good one.
But we don't usually get as much excitement as people expect.
How much better should their numbers be in order to go up? I mean, I think that's the problem. Listening to what Michael was saying, we're expecting like a 96% revenue bump. Like, that's amazing year over year. I mean, what do they have to do to actually go up? We'll have to wait to see if that market does, answer the bell there on Wednesday evening. Yeah, USO right now down 1.3%. Just hearing some more of that. Trump talking, they're in so much trouble over there in Iran. It's unbelievable. It's not really moving around too much. We did have a nice little bump up quickly to 134. Now right back into 133 right now for USO, as there are some truths going on right now, Adara. I don't know if you saw some of those right now, but we can go back. Let's go back over to Adara and catch some of the news right now.
I was just going to have it flash on the screen because there's really nothing to talk about. All caps. Iran is completely collapsing. 3 exclamation points. President DJT. And that's the post. Okay.
Well, I mean, that's basically what I heard in my ear. And Iran is completely collapsing. Okay.
Is it?
Yeah, one man's opinion, and I think he's probably right. I mean, it doesn't seem like they've absorbed a lot of this war. There's going to have to be a big, I guess, bill sent over. I mean, I guess they're going to have to send some money. I don't know how this is all going to get resolved. I mean, there was supposed to be that war fund that's just go over there to help them rebuild some of Iran, but yeah, I don't. Oil doesn't seem to be really moving around too much anything there. I still think on any dip buys, I think XOM, it got down to that 140 or so marker right back into here. And, it's been a nice little month and a half to the upside of some of these oil companies, almost right back up to the highs. Gas prices getting expensive around here one more time. It did have a nice little summer dip, which was pretty good for the majority of us. But yeah, now all the way back up there into 165. As it just seems like right now, I think gold is really a better storyteller than oil. I mean, I know oil is going back up to the upside, a little bit more, headline based. Gold seems to have made its move now, and now all the way back, not all the way back, but from its highs to its lows there, we were down, 15%? Oh, sorry, 27% there, from 510 down to 360. Now, we're starting to get a little bit of that, backside now, getting into 440, 450 now for GLD. As again, we know that the rates are not moving, and gold seems to be on the way back up, as is silver. So I think that this is where the story is. And I think if people are a little nervous about what this market's been doing, putting your money into gold seems to have been the safe haven that people are looking for. Okay, here we go, man. Tisha's always got us with these hot stocks, and XPON today. XPON 360. Do we have a story here? Were you able to see anything on there? I just see it right now. Yeah.
They're trading higher. The company's announced a $3.42 million acquisition of Eastern Louisiana oil and gas exploration prospect. The company announced the company commenced a $9 million offering of 2.117 million shares at $4.25 per share. So you save room to $7.20 specifically on XPON. I think you got to zoom out pretty far to see any kind of action like that. But it's not a bad looking one in terms of, the pump and dump. We've seen worse than this. It's about the float. 900,000 float. That's it. 900,000 shares on XPON. So again, this probably puts it into the category of a higher probability of a halt. Any of the ones that are less than a million share in terms of float, I'm usually expecting they're going to be a halt casualty at some point today. So that first halt has usually been good. If you can catch it, it's above VWAP. It's going to hit that 720 right quick. But I'd be interested to see if it can hold upside at the open.
Yeah, this is one of those things, again, where we had that JUNS that was sort of going off on Thursday, Friday there, and then sort of slowed down. I think this one, with this kind of a deal right now, do we have it on there? Oh, no, that's just on there. What's up, Frankie Bumps? Right there. Yeah, 3.425 million acquisition there. So that's nice. Offering 2.175 million shares, 425 a share. So, there it goes. XPON, getting a little excited there. Seems like there must have been some news about this in the last little while. Was this one? Did you say it was reverse split? Because why was that? Yeah, so it just reverse split there on XPON, just back right there on July. So July the 21st, it went 1 to 12, so the other way around. So you can see that's what that little bump up on our daily chart is. Our charts don't show the reverse at all, but there it goes right there from upside to downside. And then right now up as we get that going. And, remember why they reverse split, because they have to stay over $1. And if you're not over $1 for that 30 days or so, you get potentially delisted there. But I think it's even 90 days. I don't think it's 30 days, but there's new rules regarding that. Up to 740, 750. And there it goes. And when we brought this to you, thanks, Tisha, this was 650 just 3 minutes ago. So now 750. I mean, I could try to squint and read that, but it's just a story. It's just a story. Okay, so yeah, just a story there with XPON starting to go back up to the upside. Put in there in the chat if there are any other movers right now that potentially are moving around. We have Intel unfortunately breaking below that 90 marker, so that should be something there today. I have that written down on the note. That's down 2%. So this is not a great stock here going lower.
That 90 level looks really good. I like that. West Palm Beach trades. Okay, I have a question for you as well. Love Trader TV. Your thoughts on silver and gold? Why the quotations on silver?
Yeah, what's up with that? I mean, silver's not moving.
Yeah, you don't believe in silver? We know SLV is not silver, but then GLD is not exactly spot gold either. But the ETFs have both been look, both these metals have been in a turn. Like you can easily say that there's been a temporary bottom that's been made in both gold and silver. There's nothing happening this morning on it because it was very consolidative on Friday. But you see the 2 days before. Like I don't think we should sleep on it because you had absolutely ramp jobs on Wednesday and Thursday. And then again, you made a high and consolidated. There's nothing wrong with consolidating for a little bit before you get that next move up. And the last time I had a couple of inside days, it was a good productive update. So I'd have the eyes on, but I think you want to catch these when they start breaking out again, because ultimately, like it'll chop up for a bit, and gold did the same thing. Like GLD down here, it kind of chops up a little bit before you get that big ramp that we saw in the end of last week. So you'll get your decent up moves. Sometimes you just have to take a couple of days off. It feels like we might be in that bit of a realm. Gold looking stronger than silver, and obviously there's only so much that the Treasury can do. And if they're going to print, then gold feels like a pretty solid safe haven. And the volatility is back. I think the momentum is back. With silver, you probably have to deal with a little bit more sideways action. Gold seems to have been a little bit stronger. But I would also venture to tell you that if you're looking to just intraday opportunities, I feel like crypto's been pretty good too. So like both of them have been fantastic if you're looking for strength. It's just the percent moves have been a little bit better over there in crypto. Oh, no reason for the quote, says West Palm Beach Trades. Because you had me thinking, what, do we not like silver for some reason? Is this tongue in cheek? Maybe there was a conspiracy theory that I was unaware of that you wanted to be talking about, but apparently not. It's just a little bit of an accident, which is fine. And we've seen this story before where the metals can lead the way for a while, and it's important to have an eye on them when they're leading the market. You know, I don't think we have the types of parabolic moves specifically in SLV that we had before, but you can see the last time we ramped from here, it was pretty impressive, and we had a good month of opportunity in terms of at least upside potential. But it fell faster than it went up. Just keep that in the back of your head, because we came back in and gave up gains much faster than they were made, especially as we get 20, 30% higher from here. But yeah, looking good so far today. Madera, I know you trade a lot of, you say the spready tickers, which typically usually means it's higher price, lower volume. I'm interested, like, why not look at GLD? Because I find oftentimes it does fit that category. And when there's volatility in it, it would probably be right up your alley. I'm not saying there's a ton of volatility in it today, but it'll start just moving around. A couple dollars at a time, the spread will open up a little bit.
Yeah, so I have traded some GLD. I've traded some DIA as well, like Dow, but I find for some reason on these Amex like ETFs, I have to be a lot scalpier with it. And given that I'm at a news desk, you can't always be scalpy with it. So it really, I think, depends on, how the day is going and how these things look. That being said, I believe I've traded GLD. I've definitely looked at it in the past for sure. And I would say that the way I trade it is kind of similar to how I trade the DIA. But there are some tickers that they are spready, but there's just no edge there. Like AV is a really good example. AeroVironment, if it's not earnings, I don't care what news there is. I've learned, garlic, cross, it's a vampire, don't touch it. So, you know what I mean? I don't know, it's an interesting look there. But also an interesting look historically has been what's happening on Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern. And that is the Jackson Hole Symposium, specifically the speech by new Fed Chair Kevin Warsh at the Jackson Hole Symposium. Now, I'm going to do more research to make this infographic broader, but over the last 8 years, so during the entirety of Fed Chair Powell's tenure, you had some pretty violent swings. Like we were up anywhere from 1-2% all the way to down 4%, depending on how these speeches went. But we also have a Fed chair who is notoriously tight-lipped, CS. This could make things interesting.
That is exactly the point I was going to touch. Kevin Warsh will be facing a critical test, I would say, rather this week. There is a lot for him to keep an eye out and focus for. But he has signaled a rather reluctance to use his speech for a quote-unquote more traditional setup of dropping hints over how the U.S. Central Bank may respond to these inflationary pressures that we have around. And the next meeting for U.S. bank officials that we're going to have will be setting interest rates in September as well as in December. So instead of answering questions and focusing around that. He has said that the Jackson Hole speech could be, quote unquote, focused on bigger questions, including concerns over productivity and demographics.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to wait and see if he actually gives us too much here, but I think, as Sia just said, as I said, we're very likely not going to get any kind of sense of direction. But I think what'll be more interesting is how do you think the market might react to that, given that we've seen pretty big reactions to the upside and downside from some of Powell's Jackson Hole speeches?
It does cut both ways, because we know we can move after Jackson Hole, but if we also have an understanding that we're just going to get less from the Fed. That's just how it is. And if we haven't realized that it hasn't been that long, but it's been very clear. Warsh does not want to be leading the market as much. And I think that is going to lead to more volatility. The market likes certainty. They like to know where things are headed. And if we can't really read as accurately as we would like what the Fed is thinking and what they're going to do next, then I think that's going to create just a little bit more active chaos, for lack of a better term. So I do think that we're going to see some action this week, but it might not it's not necessarily going to be, oh, he said this, so therefore yada yada, the market's going to move. It could be more of the opposite, and I feel like that's going to be the new norm, where being vague or not answering questions or not addressing certain issues, like, okay, well, what would it take for you to be thinking about raising rates? Like, how far would things have to go? How long would inflation have to stay at these ranges? How long would the war have to be going on without a resolution? Without some kind of a concept of that, I think we're in for a little bit more volatility. And the test that we're getting, and admittedly, anything we talk about in terms of the market and how it's going to do for Jackson Hole, we have to get to Nvidia earnings first. And at the end of the day, Nvidia earnings are going to be pretty important too. But the test that we're making is to pull back into the prior high here on the S&P, and I have the SPY up right now. And we already bounced once, and that would have been on Thursday, but it was pretty unconvincing. And a lot of stocks have this profile today, where we got the bounce, and then we had a consolidative level. And I have things in groups. It's the names that bounced and held lows, like the SPY did, like the overall market did. And then I'm just going to point out one name because it's the front of the mind right now, and it was the last one we talked about. And it's the things that gapped higher. I tried to bounce with the market and failed. And that Intel would be a perfect example of that. It bounced with the market, failed, the market held the higher low. It's now underneath that support, which is exactly at $90, which makes it pretty easy in terms of a level. So those are the kind of groups I want to think about. Who gapped and held versus who were weaker than the overall market and failed that support that we made on Thursday.
Yeah, looking at Intel's, I only have 3 ideas on my watch list today. One of them is going to be Intel. But yeah, as far as Jackson Hole is concerned, I mean, what we're worried about right now is spiking yields. Yields on the long end are at pretty much all-time record highs right now. So let's hear what some of the talk is for the Fed here, how they plan on, trying to sort of get some of these. This is the TLT. So again, as yields spike, the actual underlying asset comes to the downside. So we could definitely look out for that. The longer end of the yield there, the 10 and the 30-year Treasury yields have reached now multi-year highs. And we'll like to see how they can address that. And also, I'm trying to look at this corporate issuance just continues, right? I mean, so you had Google, we have Amazon, we had a couple of these companies starting to issue out these long-dated bonds as well. So I kind of want to hear if Warsh has any discussions about what they think about that, because a lot of the circular financing that continues to happen here in the space, I think is going to eventually come to roost. And, when that happens, I'm not sure, if the market can hold, especially if we have an environment where we are increasing rates and you have all these, I mean, not all of them, but there has been a few companies of major note that have gone out and raised some capital. We sort of know the situation that Oracle's in. If OpenAI doesn't tend to work out, that's going to be a little bit of a problem for them as well. We had Google and Amazon recently do some of the raises. So a little bit nervous, I would say, about the corporate tech debt that's been happening over the last little while. It'll be interesting to see if Kevin Warsh has any ideas with that as far as Jackson Hole there is concerned. And then, of course, will they talk, Neil and Adara, and will they talk about some of the trade policies that are coming through now as we worry about tariffs and all that? And I know that's not really a Fed thing to do, but as it comes up, will that slip? Yeah.
Yeah. Look, at the end of the day, tariffs, the conflict, that's going to affect inflation. And that's their mandate. Well, and it also affects the employment, market as well.
Yeah.
Like it 100% it will affect both aspects of their mandate. So there'll be questions about it. I just really don't think we're going to get any real good kernels out of Warsh. He's shown us he wants to be tight-lipped about it. So I think having lower expectations as to what we're going to get out of Jackson Hole, and then that way you can't be disappointed. We're like, oh well, man, he didn't tell us anything. We've learned nothing from this and from the head. And we still have the opportunity that there will be other members that are a little bit more forthcoming. That can still be true, but even then, I think we're going to get ready for the new norm, and the new norm is going to be a heck of a lot less certainty. Like we know what the Treasury wants to do. We don't know what the Fed wants to do with any certainty, and that's a bit of a shift for us.
All right, let's get ready to rock and roll now. It's now 9 o'clock. The watch list is free, completely free. Go down into the link in description, sign up for it. I don't know if we have the little watch list promo thing there, but it's completely free. Go grab it. It has all the stocks we're going to be talking about. Has some notes on Jackson Hole, has some notes on Nvidia there today as well, and a couple different names that are trying to move around, but it does not have, I don't believe, on it XPON, because that was a little bit of a late runner there with news coming out around 8:30 right there. This name was $3.50. Of course, reverse split back in July, 1 to 12, and then now you're all the way to the upside, just touched 9 before falling back in again on XPON. So really no levels. I mean, this is a stock that has been split, so it's just going to keep on going to the upside right now. XPON. I just heard something in my ear about something else was 1 to 50 today.
Greenland something.
Green something? Okay, so there's another one.
GRML with a reverse split here. Greenland Mines, but it's not really doing any volume. So it would have been a penny stock, like 40 cents, and now it's trading, should have been at $10, but it's trading at $9.50. So nothing too crazy there. Although if we're looking at, I just heard Vivacor might be trying to go again, but no, it's only at $1 and not moving. It really might just be Tisha has caught the best one of them.
Dude, I mean, it's doubled in volume in the last 10 minutes.
That's what I'm saying. Like, XPON seems like it's really the one, and that's all you could look at. 20 million shares. It's continuing to rake to the highs. Before we go up to the desk, we have to get into the watch list. ETH just continues. We were just talking about how ETHA, or ETH, has been stronger than Bitcoin, and it's already trending up this pre-market. So it's already done a couple of extra points this pre-market alone. Like, that's about as big as the range was the entirety of the move on Friday from bottom to top, and it's already put that in. So it does put that pre-market low into play for us. But let's get back up onto the desk. We got the free watch list to go over. Make sure you go out there and grab that. We'll talk about all the stories. Obviously, Nvidia is going to be in there somewhere, but it's not earnings yet. They found the way to shock the markets for a different story.
Yeah, I thought you were going to be talking about shocking the world like PayPal there, Neil. Yeah, but before we get into the rundown, I do have a quick story I want to mention that just came out here. Google Cloud and Verizon partnering up. So here is VZAD. Again, the volume on this, very light, but worth mentioning here. Google Cloud partnering with Verizon for enterprise AI. Verizon is going to be using Google's Gemini for customer calls and agent productivity. But let's get productive here and talk about our morning rundown, which Neil will feature some Nvidia right at the top because, of course, they have earnings coming up. And if you want to know what has earnings coming up, what economic events are in focus for the day and for the week, what stocks should be on your watch, check out this free watch list. You can use that URL that was right there. You can click the link in the description. Either way, it gets you there, and it is FREE free. Let's talk here about NVDA. They're going to have some earnings here, and as Michael Noss alluded to during his section on NVIDIA, which you can check out back at 8:30 a.m., we're expecting another record quarter from this company. But before then, we have some other headlines to digest from them as well.
Absolutely. We saw earlier that NVIDIA is in talks to invest in Perplexity as well, Adara. And it's a funding round that would value the company, startup, I would say, Perplexity at $30 billion. And if you do know a little bit about this company, they had previously signed a $700 million cloud agreement with Microsoft earlier this year. And Perplexity has plans to go public in the year 2028. So that's another way to look at it as well. But yes, another thing to look at is definitely the earnings, the massive earnings from NVIDIA that are expected to come in after the bell on Wednesday. So it's expected to report second quarter adjusted EPS of $2.09 on revenue of $92 billion. And this will mark a 96% year-over-year jump in overall revenue, also a continued quarter-over-quarter acceleration, Adara.
Yeah, and I was also seeing, you mentioned Microsoft there with regards to Perplexity, but Microsoft and NVIDIA have their own little catalyst as well. I guess Microsoft's data centers are starting to get these NVIDIA Vera Rubin racks. So pretty interesting look here. What's the look for NVDA for you guys today, and even looking forward to this whole week?
Yeah, it's a big week. As Michael said, they usually go down. So maybe if there's just too much sentiment that, oh, they always sell off, this kind of could be different. All we keep seeing in the chat too as well. It's like, oh, NVIDIA always goes down after earnings.
Yeah.
The more that builds up, the better chance you have of a surprise. But it still comes down to, can the numbers be absurdly impressive enough? Not impressive because they're going to be. They're always huge. That's just how it is. They beat and blah blah blah. And the margins, like, oh my goodness, look at the margins. And then we get all excited, and then the stock doesn't do anything. So maybe they need to do something a little bit extra extraordinary to catch people off guard. They're also raising prices 15%. I think that's weighing on some names here today, because as that gets passed down, I've seen that be trouble. I don't love this whole, like, every single headline just seems like it goes further down the circular financing route. Like, we were just talking last week about how many, they're invested in everybody that they need. And so now this Anthropic, I don't know how much the market's going to like it, but the truth be told, this actually sets up on the opposite end of, not the opposite end, but the other side from an Intel. Like, it looked like it was gapping down, and it was, and we're still not above the Thursday low, but it's trying to put in a higher low. So that 216 Thursday bottom here, like, that could be a nice little over-under. If it holds above that in the open range, then NVIDIA is strong relative to the market and is along from there. Just today, it's 0.25% up when the Nasdaq is down, so that checks one box. It's just not. It's not really breaking out above those prices. So it does need to take out this 216, or it could still feel a little bit trappish.
I was actually talking with on the weekend a guy that works for Broadcom, and he was telling me how good VMware is and all this kind of stuff. And that's kind of the problem, I feel like, right now, is a lot of us trying to figure out exactly where these markets are trying to go. And I mean, even with Broadcom right here, this underneath the 200 period moving average and potentially going lower, down another 1% right there. So just looking somewhere else other than NVIDIA. I think Intel, we don't have Intel on there. Intel is going to be my number one trade idea off of $90 if we can get up there. We just posted our sticky note right now, but I don't know if we're going to get to 90. That's where we closed there on Friday, but that's a short for me. As far as NVIDIA is concerned, we had that super chat on Friday, I believe, could have been Thursday, where it was the first, or I think it was Friday, because we're talking about which days were we starting. And it was that they had ran through one of the LLMs, and it was like NVIDIA was up for 3 days, every day into its earnings call. So today would be that first of 3 days, right? The earnings is going to come on Wednesday night. So if you are thinking about some NVIDIA longs, I think today could be possible. It's up, market down. You're off of 6 straight down days for NVIDIA right now. So yeah, potentially we've seen a little bit of a cooling off period happening heading into earnings. Now traders will probably get excited, but all you have to do is look over those statistics and see that, hey, how much does NVIDIA actually have to beat for someone to get super excited about this name? I think it's better to get through earnings and just let it settle. And if it does have a dip, then you buy it if you like the story. Guess who's back? Oh, there he is. JKL is back with some more ideas. This individual has been pretty good on point with some of the calls that we've been having. So short oil and short Bitcoin. Okay. And it's quite a long call, man. So
January.
He's going in for the next quarter there. Q4 looks to be a negative quarter there for oil and for Bitcoin. I mean, look, the only one that I could really get behind more there would be oil. I think Bitcoin could be on a little bit of a runaway train for a couple minutes. And then, I mean, January is so far away. I would just like to hope that, with China visiting the United States soon, hopefully something gets settled down there. If we get lesser tensions between USA and China as well, that would help oil come back to the downside. We still got some pretty good numbers. I mean, we're not talking about the R word here or anything like that. So oil should remain relatively high for now, especially with all the Iran conflict. But I don't mind that JKL for oil coming back down to the downside. I think, there should be a settling down and hopefully some kind of a resolve to, is this even a war anymore? I mean, if there's a war, someone should be winning and losing. Like, he's already declared that President Trump has already declared that Iran has lost and they have won. So I'm not sure what oil's even doing up here right now. But the Strait of Hormuz, obviously not settled. So
that's the thing. Until ships are passing like they normally would.
What would you take, Bitcoin or oil? Like if you could
If
take
I
one
have
with
to
your lawyer
short one?
for, well, just you don't have to, but I'm saying if you're predicting the next 4 months or
The
3
Jan
months.
one.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think.
I'd feel better about saying oil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's me
Because I mean, ultimately, look at
I just
today's.
think it's safer.
Today's a good example too. It's supposed to be economic D-Day, and it's actually USO down a point. Like we're not freaking. It's not
Economic
freaking out the way that it was before. That's probably the best way to think about it. But
I think just Bitcoin can just go on real news. That's what I mean. It's like this war. I don't know like what news could actually come through. Like if the Strait is open back up, that's great for oil. So that means oil
it's
down.
like what could make it shock higher? Whereas Bitcoin
Right.
already made a bit of a structural turn. Even if I don't think the bottom is completely in from if we're just sort of looking at the regular cycles, but it's certainly stronger. And you know what? We're talking about Bitcoin next.
Yeah. They could all have pullbacks at the end of the day, right?
Exactly.
Bitcoin and oil could have pullbacks. But I just think we're going to go to the desk and get the Bitcoin story. But what do you two ladies think? If you could bet on oil or Bitcoin to be lower by January 1st, where would you guys be looking?
Well, I need way more time to think about that to
too.
give an honest answer here. But yeah, in the meantime, we'll just take a look over here at IBIT, which right now is certainly not going lower, actually pushing to the upside now. IBITs, specifically this BlackRock, of course, IBIT Bitcoin ETF, led institutional demand last week on a week that was actually already really strong for BTC ETF inflows, the best since October 2025.
Absolutely, you're right, Adira. And just recapping over what happened with Bitcoin, it gained 22.1% over the past 7 days, I would say, and briefly approached the $80,000 mark before momentum had slowed a little bit. But safe to say, Bitcoin's still trading around the $79,000 region at the moment. But Strive Asset Management as well, that is ASST, had acquired 1,110 Bitcoin over the past week, and the average price of this acquisition of Bitcoin was around $73,409.
Yeah, so some Bitcoin acquisitions, some ETFs, nothing massive here in terms of Clarity Act levels of shift, but interesting look here for crypto. I know you said, Neil, you're going to be playing some ETH.
Yeah, well, maybe Bitcoin too. It's just the upside has been better intraday in ETH than it has been in IBIT. It's not that Bitcoin hasn't been going up intraday. It has. It's just, again, ETH has been going more. If we look at the daily chart, it just feels like people might be clued in on the 80,000 for obvious reason. If I pull up a 15-minute, last spike, couldn't get to 80K. But if you zoom it out a little further back to the daily, like you could break 80,000, and then we've got the prior supports that's just under 85. So we'll call it 83, 84. This recent top more like an 82 half, 83. There's a room up here for consolidation for just a little bit more of a push. It feels like before you get to it. So I think there's still that little bit of upside. Of course, this is the day that it does break away. Like, one of the things that I usually love is, well, if you have an obvious resistance level, do you get the opportunity to pull back in and bounce from it? That would have been 44 on IBIT. On ETH, that's also getting a little bit away because the prior high, you did have a smaller gap and then a pullback into the prior high, but you're now really far away from that as well with ETH. So clearly, I don't want to be punching highs. That hasn't been the jam. Oftentimes, and again on Friday, you could play it off the pre-market low and the VWAP reclaim. Those are the two places that are automatic for me. But yeah, I might look at this 18.7 as well. When I sat down, I wrote down 18.35, which would have been this top. Well, do I really think we're going to pull back 3.5%? And that's the first opportunity? Probably not. So I'm going to have to look at the VWAP reclaim or simply this 18.7 as spots that we can go dip and rip in ETH. And if Bitcoin turns out stronger than ETH, I don't mind flipping in the middle of the day from one to the other. We flipped at the middle of the day into ETH, and it was a better rally. Gave you a couple of points, and Bitcoin didn't. Simple as that.
Yeah, on the note today, I mean, I wrote down a very low number of right down into here. But I mean, the market's just ripped up since we got here. Not ripped, but has really started to get higher here on BTC. So I don't think this 43.50 is what I have here. On the note today is 43.50 for IBIT, right? We have VWAP. So I just want to, and I actually circled the VWAP trade here because, I know Neil's just talked about it, but I feel like you might as well buy any dips off of VWAP. Here, if it's going to continue to go higher and actually test, I feel like it's going to test at 80,000. We just saw, what was it, 79.8 or something was the high there. So looks like right now IBIT really on a run. And I mean, you don't necessarily, this is what I was talking about. If you're saying what's going to be lower, JKL, and why I asked, Neil and the girls there, what IBIT potentially could do. And this is the problem. Oh, almost got one there. But yeah, nice upside for it. It looks like it's going to have to turn around at some point. But hey, what happens when we break this level for IBIT, right? And so I'm going to go long today in a relatively slow market here. It almost feels like the futures, every time I look over here, it's minus 0.18 here. Not doing a whole heck of a lot in the ES. And look at what the NASDAQ is doing as well. Meanwhile, Bitcoin trying to climb. So any dip down, I think the Bitcoin buyers will be here. We have the Clarity Act. We have Jackson Hole coming through. I think people will shy away from US dollar and put their money into gold and into Bitcoin temporarily for right now. Look, it's always easy to talk bull case when the market's going higher, right? We still have half cycles going through on Bitcoin. We still have really what is the base case for Bitcoin usage. And, whether or not you're a bull or a bear, at this point, Bitcoin is on a train to the north side, right? And so you're going to see $80,000 today, it looks like. And I want to be long when that happens. So, dip down into the 200 is 44.20. Dip down into the VWAP is 44.40. So you got to have this on your radar. We'll have it on early. I just hope we don't miss it. For sure, one of us will be in Bitcoin there today. I just felt it in my hand, but just missed it. I already
there was
got,
contact.
Yeah, I already got one. There was definitely contact there.
Jeru.
Was this Wendy's?
Jeru. Good morning.
Is that
Thoughts
Ja
on
Rule?
Wendy.
Oh, no.
Wendy's. Obviously.
Thoughts on Wendy's?
You obviously do mean
Are
Wendy's.
there the chicken tendies going through?
I'm all about
We had
the chicken.
honestly good chicken fingers, which is like a Raising Cane's here. I didn't get it when we were at our draft. The kids got it that night, and apparently really good. Honestly good. It's called chicken fingers. But is that what you mean for Wendy's over there?
Any thoughts on them? Well, there's no particular catalyst today. I mean, I see 100,000 in volume, so I don't really have any strong thoughts here. I do remember there's a short float on this bad boy, right?
Yeah.
Pretty decent. Let me just quickly double check in real time. Yada, yada, yada. 43% short float. So that's interesting because it could break. Look, what's the catalyst that makes it break out 950? I don't know. If there's something today, great. But there is definitely a decent short, I want to say squeeze opportunity. I don't want to say squeeze would have to happen. But the shorts, after that last run that it had, it's right back. I didn't realize it was all the way back up at that 9 level. So watch out for a 950 break. Ideally, you do so with some kind of a positive catalyst that could really get it going. But yeah, it's not uninteresting in terms of an investment. Don't color me a fan of anything in the space, if I'm being honest. It's more about the chart and the 43% short float that gets the juices flowing there, but nothing really that would make it happen today. You want to see pre-market volume, you want to see a catalyst. I do see they've named the new chief marketing officer this morning. I don't know that that's going to move the needle here, so it is what it is. They have a new in-app offer for some nuggets, but I don't think that's going to move it today.
In-app offer for nuggets?
Well, no. I'm not making this up. 9 a.m., there's a press release. Seriously, this is actually in the news thing. Nugget lovers rejoice. Get 10-piece Wendy's nuggets for just $1.99 with in-app offer. Is that enough to squeeze it through $9.50? No, but it's enough to make my stomach growl a little bit.
Is that real chicken? I mean, 10 pieces for $2?
Does it matter? Okay, first of all.
Is that right? 20 cents a piece? Just a nugget, right? A nugget.
But does it taste good?
Oh, wow.
Can I put it in some dipping sauce? And do I feel satiated after? Then
probably
yes. then we're all okay. I just don't think that story is going to make it squeeze today. And if it does, congratulations. That you've certainly surprised me.
Interesting. I was here's another name here. Jersey Mike's. We actually talked about this last week. It was very similar to Bending Spoons there, as Jersey Mike's actually got pretty good off the open there with recent IPO now about a month away. It just fell back into $22. We actually talked about this last week when this had happened back into, and we're like, you can go long holding it against some of these lows. Jersey Mike's now up, giving you that 1-to-1, a little bit better than that on a move higher here. So just another name. We had Chipotle as well. I think Chipotle was upgraded, I believe, earlier today, or maybe it was on the downgrade side, but it was on one of the sides there. It looks like I think it was downgraded, actually, Chipotle. And I was thinking because we went to Joe and then we didn't come back here for it. But it was just probably downgraded because it's getting to some of these levels. So maybe they want to get longer. But Chipotle's been actually working out there. Ever since they figured out that I don't know if they have figured it out yet, but part of the things that were hitting some of these names were that lettuce, sort of that explosive diarrhea. Sorry to say that, but
that's what was happening.
That's what hit some of these stocks earlier. So, all right, man, what's having explosive recalls? Is Tesla? What? I don't know. What's going on with this Tesla recall, ladies?
So it's not just Tesla. I think I was seeing a couple different Chinese EV names. This actually, or Chinese auto names. It's going back to Friday, but I was seeing this for some reason discussed a lot this morning. So I think worth getting back into this here. There's another smaller story here. Again, an analyst note on some of these plays in the AV space. But Sia, let's get into this Tesla recall bit here, because this is not a small number of cars.
Jumping off of what you just said, the other automakers, there were 8 other automakers that did also report and that did also issue recalls, but Tesla's was the largest. Is something that you want to take a note of, because it was nearly 3 million vehicles. To be exact, it was 2.9, around that number, million vehicles. But it happened in China, and they're starting on September 25th, is what you want to know. The company also said that they want to install a window control software with the over-the-air update. Now, what this will do is that windows will go down automatically when there's an accident that has been detected. So that's another thing that they do want to install in this recall. And according to notices that have been filed with China's state administrations for the market regulation area, Tesla said that the recall covers imported as well as China-made Model 3, Model Y, Model S, and Model X vehicles.
Yeah, also here for Tesla, we had TD Cowen coming out here and saying they believe that Tesla and Google's Waymo are the best poised right now in the AV space, but they don't think it's too late for the likes of Uber with that Neuro partnership, or even Amazon Zoox to catch up later down the line.
Yeah, well, I would agree. It's not impossible for them to catch up, but as you said, I don't know the horses that I would prefer to back in that space, and it's the aforementioned first two. It would be Waymo and it would be Tesla. As we were talking about with Tesla earlier, I love the run that it's been on, but it has been, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or 1 step forward, 2 steps back, this entire move. It's actually only been a couple of multi-day rallies, and the bigger moves that it's had have typically either been sideways action, sideways, doesn't make a new high, or pullback kind of days. They've been disappointing and mute almost every single time since it's bounced off 300. When you have an explosive day, it's not followed up by another explosive day on Tesla. It's just been what's true. So as long as it's in this part of the pattern, I'd be waiting a couple of days for the next leg up here on Tesla. It's exciting, so let's look for, even if it you could pull back, reestablish the prior resistance, and we bounced there on Thursday. That's the kind of thing I could see. So then you wait for it to get into the low 50s before taking the next leg higher on Tesla. The story is not really too much of a concern. It's definitely on a nice upswing from the 300 level. So that continuation has meant wait for the next pullback on Tesla. So I think that's what you do until it proves it's out of this uptrend. And it has shown nothing to tell you that it's over yet.
It's actually amazing that Tesla's just up quiet 20%. You could have just grabbed an easy, not easy. I mean, it's been easy if you've been holding it, but how to find that low, I have no idea. But it looks like, again, you're always cherry picking when you look back at some of the levels that come into play. But yeah, that 300 seemed to have been pretty good all the way back to last summer. So we've already had this dip down, and we make that right up to 480, and maybe we're going back there. I still do like the robotaxi story. I'm using FSD more and more now, but not that really matters. But yeah, I like the stock. I'm just gonna say it's not a great story for them. They're today, having to do a little bit of recall. They're soft. It's a good thing that it's just over-the-air software updates. Are gonna lower the windows a little bit when upon a crash, make it a little bit easier to get out there. It is a bit confusing. I had my parents in my car the other day, and they have no idea what buttons to push to get out of the car. So I do think that a little bit of education there goes a long way. But yeah, it does make for, I think, a short day on Tesla. I mean, it is hard to say that because the market's been doing pretty good, but you are underneath VWAP right now. I don't know if it has this explosive move in it there today, because why go in today and buy it with this kind of negative news there? But it's not that bad. I'm not in love with anything I see right here on Tesla. If anything, you had Rivian trying to break above some levels there as well, trying to hold out on that 14. I think, so it got as low as 14.50 right now on Rivian, and it's trying to break above its 200 period moving average and hold it. So we have that right here at 16.50. If anything, I know Tesla's had a nice little run up, but look at the run that's had in Rivian now. It's been 15 to 17.50. Nice move straight up to the upside right now and trying to hold out. Very choppy for Rivian, but as they roll out some more R2s out there, I think it's coming with pretty good reviews, and they work on some of their full self-drive and their autonomy. I think Rivian does have a chance, to grow their market share and get back up to the upside as well. So as the EVs getting more and more popular for sure, I think Rivian has a spot in this game. I think the reason why you like Tesla a little bit longer for a longer term play would be the fact that you do have that SpaceX side of things to it as well. And plus it's being run by Elon Musk. And then they also dropped out of the solar game on the housing last week. We had that story where there was a product on their website. It was yanked there, I guess the solar panels for the housing. But so I don't know if that means anything for Tesla's long term. I don't think it was.
Incentives for
yeah, we talked about First Solar and TAN ETF and whatnot going through. So yeah, I like Tesla because of XAI and all that kind of stuff with SpaceX being all wrapped up, and eventually there's that whole merge talk. I don't know what that does for Tesla stockholders, but
I think Tesla shareholders are going to get, if assuming there's a deal, and I don't know, the betting markets seem to think there's a pretty solid chance at it. So let's just talk about it as it would likely happen.
As it develops.
It would be, the structure would be that they would be getting purchased by SpaceX, and which company is actually producing cash, which one has margin, and which one actually has some more substance to it. So I think you'd have to convince Tesla shareholders that they should be compensated fairly, and there would be some kind of a premium. But again, that's just one man.
So I always thought they could put little shingles, that's what it was, not panels, on top of cars. I thought that could be kind of cool. But
I think at some point,
I guess it depends on where you're located, right? Like if people saying in California there, I could see the solar game being a lot stronger than it would be here, for example, where I don't even think the sun is out right now. All right, and bounces out. We'll just have a quick little look to see if anything's moving around on those, and we'll go back over to the desk and talk about the last two names, which are big, right? I mean, more sectors. They're memory, and then we'll talk about what Anthropic does to the rest of the market. There's SpaceX again. Haven't mentioned that in about a half hour. So SPCX now starting. Well, we just did when we talked about Tesla, but there it goes up 133 and change. There goes SpaceX to the upside. It's always a funny joke around here that we talk about that name a lot, but hey man, it's the number one name on here. BMR and IBIT, we tend not to look at these on the imbalances. They don't really have any sort of a play there. Gold on the buy side too, that's really nice to see, but let's go back over to the desk, get the story on memory. We'll talk about a few names, and then we're 4 minutes away.
We'll talk some memory, and we'll talk some Chinese ADR earnings really quickly too here before we send it back. But let's start here with memory, because these names are gapped down pretty sharply here. You've got MU, which traded more or less in a range for most of the back half of that Friday session. They're gapping down by about $30, and SanDisk also trading lower. Now, I guess there's also worth noting you've got some chip names, specifically NVIDIA, reporting this week, so that could be in focus here.
You're right, technical reasons, definitely, but there are absolutely, like you said, reaction to NVIDIA reporting earnings this week after the bell on Wednesday. SNDK, MU, AMD are down. AMD more significantly because of the NVIDIA earnings loom that it's seeing at. Also STX, and as you mentioned, WDC. Investors have pulled back from, I would now say, overall high beta technology stocks here. But you're right, let's also take a look at these Chinese ADR earnings, Adara, XPEV and PDD in focus. XPEV, it reached a 19.74 billion yuan, which is approximately $2.91 billion, representing an 8% increase year over year and 51.5% sequential increase, but it has fallen short of the consensus estimate of 20.57 billion yuan. And PDD, on the other hand, reported a quarterly EPS reaching $2.84, topping consensus of analyst estimates of $2.73, and revenue is up 8% year over year to approximately 16.6 billion yuan.
Yeah, I mean, decent growth here for both the revenue segments as well. How do you guys feel about PDD, XPeng, and/or memory as we head into what should be a pretty interesting opening bell?
Well, I just saw that graphic for a minute there.
Yeah, I'm bearish on DRAM today and the memory names in general. It just comes down to, we saw a 3-day consolidation. It tried to break out above. it was a rejection, like any way you call it. We gapped above and then just sort of fell into the prior high and held it. Now we're gapped underneath. So as far as I'm concerned, 57.5 is back to being resistance. I'm gonna be looking at lower highs in here, $56.50. So I'm thinking pop and drop on DRAM, and just to show that, you know, the overall, we go to Micron and look at the kind of the first name under the hood that would make any sense for a lot of people. It's a very similar look, maybe not as clean in terms of levels, but again, false breakout when we gapped up on Friday, consolidate even lower, and now we're testing the bottoms enough that I think a pop is at least likely off of the open. So market's down 0.5 point. All of the memory names are significantly more than that, whether it's 3, 4, or up 6 or 7 times the weakness. It's still relative weakness. I'm short in pop, specifically DRAM 56.5 and 57.5.
Yeah, I like a name that I like in the space. I talked about SK Hynix a little bit. We only have a minute and a half to go. This name today, there it is, down 4%. I think we're going to be getting close into a potential buy zone here for SK Hynix. I really like this 140 area. So if this continues its downside push here on the daily, SKY could be something to look at. SKHY could be something to look at right now, down just a bit. We'll see if it can hold that 160 where your 200 period moving average is located. Just trying to see if there's anything else. We saw that XPON. We are now just under a minute right now before we go. XPON, probably your first look at a Halt name there today. Watch out. VWAP is at 7. We like trading things north of VWAP right there, but is pulling back down in on an acquisition. So XPON, check the news out right there. 27 million shares. Volumes died down in the last half hour. So, potentially just slowing down to get going again. A name that we didn't talk about at all on the rundown here, and we haven't mentioned it once really yet, was Moderna. I mean, I think this had what an absolute monster of a day there on Thursday and Friday. Obviously on that great news where, hopefully extending the life of cancer patients. I mean, absolutely huge with Merck and Keytruda there. So, really like that. And we had a great long at the end of the day. Really helped us bring some of our day back there on Friday. And that was this 140 bid that really kicked in again. So watch out for 140 coming on Moderna with only 10 seconds to go right now. IBIT on our mind, Intel on our mind, Apple moving around today as well. Here we go, 5 seconds left. Welcome to the show. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. And we're getting ready to start another week as the last week in August starts right now. I think it's 31 days in August, right? So we'll have next Monday will be the final August day that we have to worry about. But okay, Intel immediately getting hit to the downside. There it goes, man. I was actually part of this strategy today was potentially looking at a break of the opening range. And there it goes. You don't even get a chance. That's 88 down through 88, now through 87. Intel getting hit early on right now to the downside. NASDAQ also making a move lower here. But will it move much? We'll wait to see. There goes Intel just getting hit early on the way to the downside.
Yeah, it feels like, I don't know. I can't tell you the number of times that you think short chips in a general sense where the market's trending like it wants to give you a short to pops, and they just immediately we drop. So DRAM, same thing. We just plowed through the low of the day just like Intel did. But there's still some strength out there, and it's not in the overall market. But ETH is trying to pull back. IBIT probably as well, but not much. Like, it's not a huge pullback. Both these are pretty close to the highs. We're not getting a chance to bounce off VWAP or anything like that. So ultimately, oh wow, Tesla even dropped.
I thought that would happen today, remember?
Yeah, Tesla, that's the thing. Tesla, it's been like...
There was no reason for it to go up.
And there's only been, like I'd say 40% of these runs, and the run Tesla's on, it's like 40% of the days are like up days. And the big up days are a small percentage, and we always seem to sell a little bit. But I think let this one calm down, because the uptrend is still pretty good. I mean, you go to the daily chart on Tesla. I don't know if we mentioned much about SpaceX, but that's actually ramping upside today. So off the open, they're buying SpaceX. When I say they, the market, pretty much everything else happens to be selling. And then one more, because nothing is really setting up. We're trying to be patient. Alibaba did tank about $1.50 and then just made a little bit of a bounce, a little bit of action with them. They're also raising money, and the market doesn't like it. Nobody likes it. If you're raising money and diluting, nobody likes it. That's just how it is right now.
The only thing that is really trying to set up is Tesla to me on the short. I mean, I know we've sort of talked about it a little bit, but if we can get something back up here, 361 to 362, trade it underneath 362, I think I like that for Tesla. So I'm going to put an offer up there just in case we get back upside now, 360. There's a 10 billion Hong Kong share sale there for Alibaba. So I'm going to put an offer at 360, see if that comes through, and then we'll address it when that happens. Up to 362, maybe there for Tesla. Maybe it's just getting hit early, but if there is a little bit of a move back upside there, we'll take a look at Tesla. It's too bad, man. We recently bought some Intel shares. That was not a good buy. Now down 10% on that one, as that is now down to 87 and change as we put a little bit more money to work there. We'll see if that one wants to bounce upside a little bit. Is there anything else going on, guys? I mean, XPON didn't halt
Things
yet.
tanking, that's what's
What was tanking?
Oh, just things falling.
Yeah, really. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, you know, the ES started
Micron's
down.
dropped $20 from the open.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, the RAM names for sure. NASDAQ started off the day down 0.7, now down 1%. So, yeah, we're starting to get a little juicier to the downside. We had written down the TQQ short, but again, was hoping for a little bit of a pump early. That doesn't happen. If anything, now the market just takes that next leg lower, and so does Tesla, man. I mean, Tesla's now down to 356. If anything, man, it is SpaceX right now that is just off. Like, this is the one that's starting to go back up to upside, almost back to green now on SPCX. How far can we go? I mean, Friday's closing price right there, 137 coming into play. Highs of 137.50 on SpaceX, man, as this name gets going pretty high upside there. Moderna, yeah, we definitely like that stock, but we have to go to a dare, then we'll come back and maybe look at Moderna. We don't want to forget about that one.
Yeah, what's that?
Let's talk about presidents, or one president, of course, and one very famous congresswoman and their stock purchases. So Intel, Bloom Energy, both trading lower. Apparently, Nancy Pelosi just filed for her purchase of up to $12 million worth of Bloom Energy and up to $1.5 million of Intel. Both those stocks trading lower. Now, what's trading higher, though, are MasterCard and Visa. President Trump filed for purchases of, I believe, $1 million each for both Visa and MasterCard, going back to June 18th, 2026. So both those names trading higher this morning. Back to you.
Yeah,
Shocking.
We did get that. Yeah, we did get that Moderna. Yeah, $1 million. I mean, I don't know what these guys are net worths or anything like that. Even that Nancy Pelosi. I mean, you can now. There are some ETFs out there to monitor her. Yeah, NANC, I think it is, right? Or something like that. But anyways, there's Moderna. You mentioned it trading like a stock maybe a little bit more today. Yeah, it is pulling back in. I still think this is fantastic news and want to buy some Moderna. I just don't know where, but this moving target of 133 or so. And the reason why I say that is it's not exactly that price, but that's where we opened up on Friday and we had a monster run, and then the close was good, but you know, throughout the day we did have a sell. But there it is, coming right back in for Moderna, so maybe a potential look there. It's only 9:35, 5 minutes in. Nothing on board for me quite yet, as SpaceX has just broken through the high from Friday. Or I don't know if it was the high, but was it the high? I looked at it. Yeah. So there it is, man. Breaking through the high from Friday is now SpaceX. Wow. What a mover this name was today. From red to very much green now, SpaceX. I'd like to short this name, you know, but it's just like someone's out here buying this. When these programs eventually stop, maybe that's when the buy comes in. So we'll have to keep on watching SpaceX. Nice move higher as Tesla down to 355.
George Lerma, thank you for the super chat. MasterCard and Visa were not on your bingo card, but you know what? If it's on the president's, and sometimes that's all it takes. Look, I don't think for any day traders, these are names that are going to be on your bingo card. Neither one of them is going to have a tremendous amount of volume, like 400,000 shares on Visa. The spread's pretty decent, but look, breakout to breakout. It's been doing very, very well, and certainly helping the XLF out. So I'm not going to complain, even though I haven't been the biggest fan of the group. They have helped to drag up the entire space. You're not even catching a bounce to fade here on the memory names. Sheesh.
No, there's nothing. Well,
like it's been all red. There hasn't been any kind of a bounce. I look over, and the only thing that's really setting up would be a shot long at ETH. It's about to hold VWAP again. So Bitcoin and ETH are both at least relatively strong. All
right. We have our first position on. We just put it on as we were talking about it, and it is SpaceX. So there it is right now. We have this on board. Now it's 50 cents in the money. It just did get into the 80s. We did take something out at 85 there, you know, right back into this level. Let's see if SpaceX wants to be something here today. We only have a quarter of a unit right now on SPCX. So coming back in there, it is 136.80, another take there. We wanted to let this name settle down a bit. You know, that we saw the programs turn on, and they might still be on, but we're going to try to hold a little bit of SpaceX as maybe we get just a little bit lower. I mean, if we can get something, we just made a move down into 136.50. So let's put another bid there right now and see if we can just capture that. There it is. Yeah. Give me that 136.50 now on SpaceX. Trying to go clubbing early on this one, but for now we're just holding on to it and seeing what's going on. Intel would be another low take for me. 87. Okay, back up to not 90, but back up to 88 or 88.50. could be a trade there. It looks like we did nail, first of all, I mean, we got that SpaceX fill, so that was obviously a good one right there at 136.50. But it was Tesla's story today also, which was on our watch list. It's funny because I was like, I think this is a short today, but you know, what are you going to do? And that was just to been taken the low break right there of the pre-market, because there really was no bump up. I mean, unless you're sitting there and catching that very first little wick there, I don't know how you're going to do that, but there it goes, man. Really bleeding to the downside is Tesla, now down 2.5%. So yeah, those recalls, they don't like it. And we've seen that happen before for Tesla. It's not like this is a situation, I don't think, market-wide as far as EVs are concerned. I mean,
No.
Rivian's kind of holding. I think it's a very Tesla-specific, and you know, just hearing more stuff about Canada in our ear, and you know, that's going to affect names like that Ford and Stellantis and whatnot.
Go Meta.
Look at Ford to the downside right now. I see people in the chat. What's up with
Yeah,
that?
I see that too. Like Meta's not. Look, it's nothing
Ford,
crazy.
Tesla's really
If you're not at the lows, then you're doing something good right now. So it's not at the lows. It's not like it's breaking out or anything too crazy. Dara, did you see anything?
No, and actually Trump sold a whole bunch of Meta. That was disclosed, so it's actually not a good look for them even. But AMZN, I just wanted to address because people were saying, oh, this is trading higher. There is no news beyond that Anthropic IPO hype. No, Amazon heavily invested in Anthropic. We think this thing could be valued at roughly $2 trillion with that IPO.
Gotcha. You know what? That's true. I actually forgot about that because I did see that about the president. But just because the president's buying or selling something, you don't really know the amounts that were held is one of the things, and some of them were pretty small relative positions. That said, we'll take a first shot on ETH. We were long IBIT early on Friday, but it was more ETH in the afternoon. So when it held VWAP just now, it's the first place we'll go. You break the low, we're out, and we wait for the absolute bottom. Ontario Premier Doug Ford, Canada should be ready to cut electricity to the U.S.
Yeah, he said that before.
Yeah, that's exactly what he said the last time. It is what it is. That's just how he rolls. I don't think that's moving the needle one way or another, but Carney's probably not going to be happy about that because he tends to run his mouth a little bit. But no, the market, it's trying to catch a little bit of a bid.
And here it goes.
I'm doing my best not to be, like, I'm not chasing DRAM, but my intention is to short a pop. But the market's going up, and this isn't even bouncing. Is Intel bouncing at all? Intel, no. Well, a little bit. So Intel's got a little bit of pep in its step. Maybe a pop into 87 can get me into this sucker at some point. It's just so far off the highs.
We just did.
Lucy broke $1.
Okay. We just got stopped out at 138, but then it didn't break too much further above it. So we're gonna take another shot. Right now, I just covered some in the 70s because now we kind of want to give this about 25 cents. There it is. Now we get some in the 50s. Okay. So unfortunately, it does run us again, and I just wanted to wait at 138, man. I didn't want to give this one too much room, SpaceX, in case it really just went up to that 140 marker again, and it may still do that. So we're covering more and more. I'm already out of 40% of the reload right now. I'm going to get another piece now at 137.55 if we're able to. But downside right now. And as we just heard that, the Premier there, Premier Ford, so similar to like a governor or something here in Ontario.
Yeah, exactly.
Not talking nicely there about cutting electricity. So you're seeing Ford and GM. And again, here in Ontario, we do provide a lot of electricity there for Ohio, New York, some of those northeastern states. So I think it's a legitimate threat, and it has been talked about before. That would really shoot up. I mean, I don't know. I'm not as expert on the grid or anything like that, but I think that would shoot up energy prices. I don't think it will, but I just mean something to think about there. As we look at, we talked about the Enbridge, some of the pipeline companies as well, right? So Tesla still cannot find that bid. We have been getting out more of SpaceX. That might be a long SpaceX there as it just keeps on going higher. So we're going to stop at 138.50 now on that trade, and we just did a little bit of a reload. Again, we just got a decent price upside there on SpaceX. Our last fill was 138.20s, so we can actually get a piece out now in the 80s if it allows us to, and just try to scalp out. There it is. So we get another piece out there. Try to scalp out just a bit here of SpaceX now to start the day. The other thing I had written down was IBIT. What are you in right now? Ethereum?
I'm in ETH, basically at VWAP. I'm just a little bit above VWAP. It's like 2-3 cents beneath the volume weighted average price, so it's not really doing as much as you would like. But the market's down and it's holding the low, so that's good. Didn't really think this would happen so fast. Wrote 130 on the note for Moderna. the low from Thursday is really more like 128.5. But the way Moderna is dropping, and we've seen it do this, you almost want it to consolidate or do one heavy rebound candle. So this is falling like an absolute rock. It's flush seating in a lot of places, but Moderna, a little more volatile than the average stock. So let it get to, it could break 130, go $2 or $3, and still be a 130 hold because it comes back through. So I want to be pretty patient as it gets down to that support level to not just be sitting in front of it and make a ridiculous bid, get stopped out. I'd rather try to catch that bottoming tail on the way back in. But we're $2 away, so we'll have a little bit of patience with that bad boy. Still nothing in DRAM. We'll call it a fail. There's just been nowhere to get in unless you just take the shot right away, which I wasn't willing to do on that sucker. And even ETH, we go VWAP, it just broke the initial wick bottom at 118.76. We risk about 10 pennies on it. We'll wait till we get another low. It is worth remembering, it was chopped till about 10, 20 or so where you were playing off the lows and sort of having to scalp the trade, and then it was going for good. And that was in the second half of the morning. So I can be patient with this. It gives you multiple cracks at it. But it's not near the pre-market low just yet, so I don't want to hold it all the way to the bottom. And then there was this penny stock, Lucy. You might have heard me say, oh, Lucy got over $1. Well, Lucy's back under $1, but it's holding VWAP. This one's holding trend pretty well. So if there's a small capper that wasn't, I think, was it Xenon? What was the one that Tisha was talking about?
Oh, XPON.
XPO, not that. Yeah, XPON, not X. Yeah, so XPON was a good one. Lucy was another. This is holding the uptrend pretty well, but I also want it to be above $1. So see how it holds the volume weighted average price. This is a good looking one. If it can close above $1, I kind of like the breakout up here because you can go 110 long and just give it to the even dollar. Oh, what the heck happened to that stock?
That was Lucy, wasn't it?
Oh,
DFNS. Yeah, this is another name. So this just came off a Halt. So this was something that we had traded last week. And if you guys remember DFNS. Okay, here we go, man. Now we're clubbing. Finally, I did want to talk about more of this. But there's the downside play, man. We're at 136.77. I have no idea. There it is. Yes, we get it. Yeah, let's go SpaceX. Big mover right now. Finally back into this thing. We had to give it a little bit of room there, and we got stopped out first time, so we're just making this money back now as we get extension lower now on SPCX. Let me just try to figure this one out as we continue to go lower, and maybe VWAP would be my next. Let me just put a bid there. I don't have a bid yet. 136.25s, and then we'll try to hold on to what we have. We still have about 55% or so. So if we do get this fill, we'll be down to about 50% left, and then we'll be able to hold it right now at $1.50 in the money over here on SPCX. We like the stock, and it just had a nice move higher and just couldn't really figure out what the story was with it there. But yeah, with Tesla going to the downside as well, it does kind of make sense that SpaceX maybe goes, wow. The number one name for me to look at today was Intel. And we just got to always remember that 200 period moving average is something we like. And it just came through real early there. So not much really to look forward to there on that trade, but definitely something there on Intel as we continue to knock some flies out over here. Nvidia down 2.27%. I'm just going to reload this just to make sure that I'm talking about, talking about the right stocks there. Nvidia down, Broadcom down. There's not much up right today in Techland, right? Micron down 6.5%, Dell down, AMD. There's our Intel down, SanDisk, wow, down 10%.
10%.
Yeah, right now, as you mentioned, DRAM. As there it goes, man. We're now $2 in the money now on SpaceX. Tesla downside, consumer manufacturing, not good, man. Caterpillar down, GE Vernova down 3%. Not a great name, or not great day for some of the data center space plays. Visa, MasterCard nicely cooking today, both up 2%. Those are good. JP Morgan in the bank space is up. We have Anthropic coming, more fees, more funding for the bank names there to the downside. But yeah, buddy, nice move lower here. We just get down to 135 and change. Let's put another bid here. We'll just cover some at 80, and there it is. So we get the VWAP. We get some nice high ticks there on SpaceX. Try to be patient with it, and patience pays right there. Okay, you got in and out of Ethereum there. I was just going to see Bitcoin because it is falling back into 78,000 now.
Yeah, it is, but we're getting a nice bottoming tail candle in ETH, at least for now. But it's Moderna. It didn't quite get to 130, but it bounced off 131. Yeah, I think this can be a bit of a comeback play. Moderna doesn't have to care about what's going on in the market. It's close enough to that support level. I tried to pick up some 133s on this kind of confirmation candle. It didn't really give you a fill inside the body of the candle. So it's either break out 136 over VWAP, wait for a pullback at 33. But ETHA said this is one where it chopped in the morning on Friday. And if it tries to do it again, we're going to take, as long as it's above the pre-market low, I want every single curl. So it's putting in a nice bottoming tail off the 70 level. Once it closes green, confirm that candle green. It's almost the same setup, right? Like confirm green, bottoming tail, get in the body, and then run to the upside. Lucy just lost $1 again, so I don't know if that's going to be anything. It's trying. It's still above VWAP. It's still holding trend, but like twice in a row, this has failed underneath the dollar level.
We have a halt.
I don't love these stocks over if they're under $1. Xpon.
Yeah, Xpon finally just got hit on the scanner, so hit the sirens for that one.
You gotta get the first halt.
Yeah, I wasn't paying attention to it, but 838 halted right now, tapping 840. So early halt right now, not really giving us too much indication of what we want to do. It's 9:47:47. There was the time of the halt. So if it's 5 minutes, we'll look back at this thing at about 9:54, and then we'll be able to see where this one opens up. But halting right now at 838 and tapping 838. So, not much going on over there. We did a PFSA. This was a violator last week. I remember we had a couple halts on PFSA last week and trying to do it again today. Doesn't seem like it has much energy behind it right now off of its most recent halt there. PFSA now reopening back up. And then that other name was DFNS, which was starting to go a little bit, but only 240,000 shares right now. Controversy today, of course, seems like it's more President Trump is now focused on Canada a little bit right now, which is fine for us here, but it's left oil just kind of hovering and not doing a whole heck of a lot. So, we'd like to look at this space, but it has to be doing something in order for that to make any sense now, and it's not. We just took another fill on SpaceX down there at 135.50, so that's a name that's going on again. DAIC is another name that's been halted, that's now closed for a couple minutes. 205 was the halt area, and that's where it looks like it wants to open up. So you got 3 more minutes or 2 more minutes until this one finally opens up, DAIC. SpaceX is really dropping like a rock, man. Now we are now $3 in the money on this one. So we'll put another bid right there and take it out as there goes SpaceX, man. We tweeted this one out early and it's working late, man. Yeah, SpaceX, $3. Let's go. Right there for SPCX. Nice move lower.
Yeah, we're starting to really ramp up here in Moderna. 136 is very close to breaking. We're almost there. I think it does eventually get there. We're able to get back in. And ETH put that bottom tail. It did do our confirmation. Right, you're gonna break? You're gonna break? No? Close.
Which one,
What?
Moderna?
Oh, my order didn't fire.
like
Okay,
the
well, we'll try to get in manually if we can. No, my stop didn't go because I have another one up at 145. That's why. Oh, that's so annoying. Oh, we got filled just sort of leaving the order in on the break. So we're in at 36. VWAP's at 35. With Moderna, that makes it pretty simple. We'll try to give it that buck. There's just this low here from Friday at 139 to 139.5 is sort of an obvious target for me. Like that stands out like a sore thumb. I like resistance to support and support to resistance. So if that Friday low that you saw on MRNA at about 130, we'll call it 139, that's going to be a target to the upside as this one goes. And we are, like I said, we're back into ETH. I'm preferring that to Bitcoin today. But that can change. Like I have no issues like going back and forth if I find one stronger than the other. But for now, we are liking that ETHA. I'll just show you here because we're on Moderna. ETHA back with a bottoming tail. We'll play to the high, which is 19. Once it gets to 19, I want to make sure I have like 80% out and then try to hold more for the dream after that.
All right, I just covered a little bit more there on SpaceX. I mean, this is obviously a big stock here now, 350 now. And I'm going to wait for a break of the 200 period moving average. We just covered a little bit right here at 135, giving us a big one. I mean, we did get stopped out, but we did put it back on once we realized where we had another out for us. I thought the out was going to be 138. We took profits early on it. Then finally it ran once it finally broke to the downside. Like no idea that was actually going to happen. We just tried to play the momentum in the market, which was down. We've seen its brother Tesla all the way to the downside as well. So I'm going to wait for 134.20s is what I was getting at. Hopefully we wind up breaking right now. That DAIC has just opened up. Oh, it's going to halt again. Yeah, DAIC. Maybe we want to get a little bit long here. Oh, I just tried. Darn it. Just tried to get long there at 215 on DAIC. It's now tapping 2 25 right now. Look, man, the big winner for me, I only have one trade on today. It's going to be SpaceX. I'm only at half my daily goal right now, but there's a nice move to the downside because we did take a hit on this early, but SpaceX right now really paying dividends on this particular trade as it's now $4 in the money. What's up, Adara?
Unclear exactly when this is released, but there's some, obviously some movement in Netflix. I want to address this. I'm just seeing now that apparently New York Times reported that Netflix is considering opening its app to other streaming services like Peacock and Fox One. So these services would then be provided directly on the Netflix app. Now, again, this is just a report. There's no imminent deal, but this could actually turn Netflix into more of a streaming hub. Similar models would be like Prime Video or Roku. So potentially new model and focus here for NFLX.
Okay. I heard saw you ask Adair about Oscar.
I saw in the chat
it's
a bunch
big
of people
one.
were talking about Oscar moving big, but I guess it kind of gave up the bid.
Yeah, I like Oscar here. I have more money in a name like an Oscar than I do in a Big Bear AI, but I like this name as it continues to try to break through some of the highs. Their healthcare name, OSCR, going to give it back right now, right? I mean, some of these stocks, when they have no news, like it's almost like they're anticipating something like a news release or something, and then it just comes right back in.
I almost feel like if you gap up and don't have news and you see that trend break or that flat bottom break, it's like, that should just be an auto short. So they go the first buck on MRNA.
Halted again, by the way.
Here, and it just doesn't seem to want to break the 137. So we got to 37 a couple of times and tested it, scalped some out. But if we lose VWAP, this one we'll jump out of this trade if we lose volume weighted average price. We'll still be slightly up on it, but the break just doesn't really go all that far. $1 is good on Moderna, but Moderna dropped at the open like $14. So you're probably looking for a little bit more. I'm going over to DRAM because I just want to show you, like, I'm not finding a place to get into the short on DRAM. We just continue to fall. This is one that we wanted, and obviously it just has not bounced. Intel is not even showing any signs of bouncing either. Like, there's no bouncing, get to VWAP, short it there, short the trend. No, you're basically trying to find shorts at the LOD on this sucker. That's why we're trying to find the things that are strong. And whether you thought Moderna was going to be relatively strong, it's above VWAP and trying to go. So we'll stick with it as long as it wants to hold. But I'm looking for that 139. Like, it's really just about 36 to 39 for me. We'll take that and hopefully be able to run.
I mean, we always have a fun time here talking about SpaceX, and we always make fun of like, oh man, we're talking about SpaceX too much. But I mean, it's where the bread is buttered. It's been like that for now a couple months, and there it comes. I mean, we just got a 130. We just got $5. It just went into the low of the day there, and I was like, what? Like, I'm sitting there watching the P&L, and all of a sudden it's just like, okay, and it just dropped $1 out of nowhere there on SPCX. So man, let's just take the profit on that one. We are getting lighter and lighter now. 25% left now on SPCX. Sure, it's coming back up to the upside, but that sitting there at the low of the day, I mean, we weren't sitting there. Once it crashed lower and we saw sort of that reaction, we had to, if you have the high of the day at 138 and the low of the day at 133, like that's going to be a successful trade no matter how your bread is buttered. So we're just going to keep on watching out for. I got another out there as maybe it's breaking back above, but now we are into just 20% left now on SpaceX. We'll wait to see if we can get another one dropping back through. But what about just waiting now for VWAP, waiting for some of these levels? You know where my stop was on this one? 138.50. So 30 cents worth of a stop there gave us this and our whole day back. We only traded one name. We shorted SpaceX first. Early win, then a loss, then the kaboom, right down to the downside. So, hey, man, this is what we are up to. It's funny because we both asked Randy for a reload, I believe, at the same time. Mine went first, and then Randy's going to get annoyed because yours was like basically right after.
I typed it, but hadn't hit enter.
Yeah, I think that we're bugging him up there. But yeah, watch out for this name. There's SpaceX coming to the downside. The only other names I written down was the TQs. We wanted that short. But again, to take it right off the jump, I wasn't really willing to do that. Maybe we should have. Maybe when you're trading the futures, it is that first little pull that you're looking for. So many times, though, there's fakes in the first couple minutes. This one does not. This actually continues lower. So right now, if anything, TQs might actually look like a long around 68 because finally we have that little bit of a base. But yeah, XPON, I was saying, finally halted and reopened. And, when it did open up around that 830 marker, now it's down again. So that's 2 halts now for XPON in the first 30 minutes. It will open back up at, I think, about 9. Yeah, just 10.
Well, that's under VWAP now?
Yeah, 10. Wow. it's going to open up under VWAP. It looks like 720. That DAIC has resumed as well. So it looks like, oh my God, this is going to halt one more time now. There, let's see if we can get a bid down there. If we do get it, great. I'm putting a bid at 30. I tried to bid 31s there on DAIC, see if we could, now it's 250, darn it. So all you can really do is when it gets into that halt state is you sit on that bid.
And you just hope for a fill.
Yeah, and you hope for a fill. So like there's bat Ys, I was on bat Y. I never know what dark pool to use, so it's not my first go-to, but maybe the dark pool is the right thing to use there. But there's one halt at $1.25, opens back up $1.60, opens back up $1.80. And wow, we just got another move down there in crypto. We just went to 134 from, sorry, in crypto and SpaceX.
Crypto's going up.
Yeah, crypto's doing well, man. That was a nice bounce off 78 right there that we are actually marked down that we wanted the 78 long. But again, just sitting here watching that in Bitcoin, in SpaceX and not in Bitcoin. Here's your 15-minute chart there, and I see you're in Ethereum, so that's good. But if we just sort of move this down into a 1-minute chart, you're going to see that it does go right into 78 again, right there. Just touched it out and then a nice bounce back to the upside. So I think we were right there for IBIT at 78,000. So let me just have a quick little look and see what 78 looks like on IBIT. So 44.2. So 44.2 is the levels to maybe look for on IBIT if that is a concern for you. But yeah, man, that DAIC, just another one that's been halting back and forth. This might be the one.
Really low vol.
Yeah, now this is now 1, 2, 3, 4 into its 5th halt. Generally on 3 halts we look for a pullback, but this is 235 now for DAIC.
Yeah, so you'll see we just lost VWAP and Moderna, but thankfully because it gave us the dollar scalp, we'll at least be able to salvage up on it, but it ultimately just couldn't go. The 130 looked pretty good, but it got to 131. ETH, we slapped back into it. This might still be okay if we can recover the volume weighted average price, but I like the breakouts on squeeze names. Like I want it breaking higher instead of catching bids. I don't want to be on the bid when Moderna is falling. I want to be getting long when it's going higher and joining the party. So I'm going to continue to try to add here in front of this 18.7 low on ETH. So it's VWAP, 18.7, those 2 levels that we gave you. Those are looking good. But I just don't see much happening. Like the market's coming back up, which is good, but DRAM, which we wanted to short, you see that coming up? I'm looking, trying to find the bounce. I'm not really seeing it. And the same thing is kind of true with Intel. It's only now trying to go. So any chance to get into this at VWAP is going to continue. Wait, sorry, that was just a super chat, I believe, that I missed. So we can throw that one up there. I believe it was, okay, correct. It was Palantir from Lee. Lee Orts, Palantir thoughts moving a bit higher. Interesting. Palantir didn't have a catalyst. It wasn't necessarily on the radar.
It hasn't had one for a while.
This morning.
But it keeps on moving around.
I guess it just dropped like the rest of the market. I know it was one of the bajillion names that the president probably talked about. Well, not talked about, but that moved around in his account. But yeah, it's still the same thing on Palantir. Look at the bull flag. There's just no breakout yet. It's holding 170s and it's not breaking 180s. So wait for 170s because that feels like it's been the bounce spot. But when this can actually break out above 180, I do love this setup on Palantir. It's still very much inside. So nothing to do for me. Let's go up to Adara. It is time for happening now.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, the S&P 500 right now trying to bounce off of these lows a bit here. Still, though, trading lower. NASDAQ looking a lot weaker than the SPY. This is a theme that we've seen in recent weeks, the divergence between the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ performance. Looks like that's going to continue. A couple of catalysts in focus for the overall market, and a lot of them are going to involve Scott Bessent. CNBC reporting around 7:30 this morning that Bessent and the Treasury could be tapping the roughly $1 trillion Treasury general account to fund those bond buybacks that were announced last week. Scott Bessent, anytime I was seeing between 10 a.m. or 2 p.m., could be making announcements related to tougher Iran sanctions. I'm thinking it's going to be this afternoon. That's what I'm seeing more of. So if I get more details, I will keep you guys posted. I also have to mention here this post from President Trump. So around 9:38 a.m., President Trump posts on Truth, quote, Canada has been ripping off the United States of America for years. The ridiculously high tariffs on our farmers and farm products has made life impossible for these great American patriots and has long created a $60 billion deficit between our two countries. Not sustainable, and all caps, not anymore. On January 1st, 2027, tariffs on all cars, trucks, both large and small, automotive parts, and steel will be increased to 50%. built in the US and there are 0 tariffs, all caps. Canada will be treated like a state no longer on trade and in other ways also. They're among the worst nations in the world to do business or to deal with. They feel entitled, and yet, all caps, we don't need Canada, they need us. They do 95% of their business with the US. With us, it's the exact opposite. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So that post came out, more Canada-US trade in focus. Let's talk about Nvidia, a stock that's going to be in focus all week long because they have earnings after the bell on Wednesday. NVDA, as Michael Noss discussed this morning, usually goes down on earnings. We'll have to see how it performs this time. IBIT and Bitcoin and crypto also on watch here. We know that Bitcoin just tapped just below that $80,000 level last week. Let's see if we can break out above it this week with inflows led by IBIT inflows actually doing quite well for Bitcoin. Last week, the Bitcoin ETF inflows were their best week since October of 2025. Back to you.
Yeah, really excited to see what happens there with Bitcoin and that, so on and so forth, moving forward here today. Just before we do this, DAIC right now just halted down. So it's finally a move down. And I tried to go short, but you had to pay for shorts.
It's $20 for 100 shares.
Oh, yeah, okay, way too expensive. But DAIC heading lower, $4 in the money on SpaceX. I'm still waiting for 133 and change right here. But hey, guys, here's an offer that you have to look into if you are looking for a prop firm. Markets have been extremely active lately, and for traders, this kind of environment creates, of course, huge opportunity, and big moves means more setups, and which means more momentum. But to take advantage of these conditions, you need to have discipline and, of course, access to capital. Well, look no further. Trade the Pool has both of those for you. If you're being limited by the size of your own account, use firm capital and focus on executing your strategy and managing risk. No more fear of blowing up your own personal account. No more moving your stop loss too early because you're worried about your own savings. This is what they call limited risk trading. So if you want to take advantage of the volatility in today's markets without losing or risking, this is the key part, your own capital, please go over to Trade the Pool, one word, tradethepool.com, and make sure you do scan that QR code. Let them know you're coming from Trader TV Live. That would be greatly appreciated. And of course, Neil and I also trading here on a prop floor. I'm going to bid right now at 134 just because I'm going to cancel my 133 and change. It looks like we may want to bounce off here. I don't know. It's now 10:04, so the market has now been open for about a half hour. SpaceX went up. Now it went down. Now it's just kind of trying to figure out what it wants to do around its own opening range again down here between 134 to 135. That was sort of the blow up spot right there once we took out this 134.50. So, been looking at it. We do have a stop of half of our position, which is going to be lighter if I get a 134 fill. Breaking through 136. Let's see a clear view up and get just a little bit higher. That DAIC still looking at 188 tap. Other than that, man, nothing else has been happening. This XPON still halted. This is going to be a 10-minute halt, opening up in 2 minutes. It looks like XPON right now, so that could be something again to look at there.
Lucy is still same battle, holding VWAP, but failing a dollar.
Okay.
Every single time, it just seems to be able to hold the volume weighted average price. But what I mean when it's failing a dollar, see how we're not closing above $1. Every single time it breaks, it's a topping tail candle ever since the open. There was one little shot. I just wanted to hold over $1 to take a shot at this one to the long side for a small capper. We're going to go back to Adara. It's still just, before we do that, look, the market makes a little bit of a bounce. ETH, we were able to jump back in, and it goes right to the volume weighted average price. Kind of ticked it up a little bit, but we're holding some higher lows. So again, I like the relative strength here. When the market's breaking lower and the NASDAQ is breaking lower and holding the bottom and continuing to trend down, you can reverse that trend in ETH. So I like that. It's just that IBIT, for the most part, hadn't been doing as well. But now today, it seems like it's a bit stronger. So I don't mind making the shift. Like on the next dip, if the same thing is true, IBIT's above VWAP and ETH isn't, then maybe I start getting into IBIT and then just hold on to the ETH while it continues to go higher. That might be the play for me. Just a little bit of extra strength happening in Bitcoin versus Ethereum. DRAM, LOD, and continues to fall. 7.5%. SanDisk getting smoked this morning. Just really didn't find, unless you were sitting in the short, it wasn't good enough to be looking short. There was never a pop to be had. Adara?
No movement on this, but I think worth mentioning just given what the story is. USAR currently near intraday lows, but the Department of Defense just announcing that the Pentagon has backed this asset called Serra Verde. This is apparently soon to be an asset of USA Rare Earths. They're investing $700 million in this Serra Verde asset, and apparently total government-backed initiative reaching $1.55 billion. So again, the U.S. government, specifically the Department of Defense, the Pentagon, investing here in Serra Verde. This is an asset that apparently is soon to be owned by USA Rare Earth. USAR not reacting to this at all.
Yeah, if anything, USAR is just it's getting pumped a little bit. So it's looking pretty nasty. Like, what all it's doing is giving up the move from Friday. So just look at the bottoms on Friday. That's worth a look. There's not much to talk about with crude because it's not really doing much of anything. We're just sort of hanging a little bit lower. So you can't blame this downside on crude. What you are blaming this on, if you're looking at the broad market, 7.5% on Micron, as I said, to the downside. And this is before we went to Adair. We're mentioning just how nasty it's gotten in the memory names. 10% down in SanDisk. It's making its first little bid here, SNDK, and trying to go higher. But for this to be SSR, I don't know if you had that one on your bingo card, that you'd go SSR and SNDK. Like, I like the DRAM short. I didn't think it was going to be this bad that fast. And ooh, no, Lucy.
Innovative eyewear.
Is it breaking? Did it break 110? No, has not broken $1.10, but this is a close over $1. So even if it doesn't break out this $1.10 level, even just closing above $1 could be good enough here to try to jump into it. So Lucy, eyewear name here. I forget the short float, but it's a decent enough and also small float. 100 million shares holding VWAP. It's the small capper that seems to be holding up the best for now. And yeah, you're absolutely right, Lindenmeyer. I'm not saying I would be loading the boat, but AMD, it's only down 4 points today. But if you look at the daily chart on AMD, that loss of 500 in the 50 period, like, it seems like it's got a date with our good friend and our favorite price.
Yeah.
420.
We've been selling off some AMD, which has been good, but we put some money into Intel. That didn't work out. I mean, they're not necessarily moving together, but they are moving lower. That is for sure. A name that's moving higher, and we talked about this last week with Joe. He likes this name, Meta. Right there, nice move. I mean, it's flat on the day, but at least oh crap. I mean, I was going to talk about it when it was moving higher, and then I went over to it now. It's like, had to talk reverse now because there it is, man. It looks like it's going to try to break a little lower. Meta coming back in. So there are, FBL, there are different, things you can trade other than Meta by itself. If it's $550 is a little bit too much there. It's a little bit too much of a spicy meatball coming in there for Meta. But there it is, man, $554. Right down now, another $5 on that one. So we'll leave Meta alone, but it was cruising to the high side, but no longer, my friends, on Meta. Tesla, maybe 350. I mean, that was a good bouncing spot there about 10 minutes ago. We'll wait to see if it can hold 352. That's exactly where we bounced. And 350, pretty easy level to look at if it does come back in. So we want to make things easy around here, not hard. So Tesla, maybe a little bit of a wait and see. But hey, man, what if it breaks back to the north side there and takes out this 355 area? That could be a decent look there for Meta back into the long end of the coin there. Just looking around, that DAIC still halted. I mean, I like that name anyways out of the short side. I tried to do it, but obviously not pay for shorts. So did not get an opportunity to do that one there on the short side.
Probably just means it falls even further.
XPON now on 1-2 halt, so halted there. 10-minute halt, opens back up at 750. Now underneath VWAP. This is one Tisha brought to all of us earlier as well. XPON right now trying to bounce off 650. Good level, right? This is kind of where the bouncing started in the first place. So watch out for XPON here near those lows. We're still 4 and change in the money right now. On the only trade I've had on all day is SpaceX, and I just saw Obi there in the kitchen when I got my water. And I think he said he traded Nvidia, but not successfully, but just looking for the rebound in Nvidia. I told him what happened to me in SpaceX there at 138, stopped out of our first trade, got back into it, and now it's really starting to come back in. Now is SpaceX.
Well, Nvidia is getting pumped.
Oh, is it again?
It's down at 209. There's just no.
Okay, so I think that's what he was talking about.
It didn't put in any attempt at a bid till 210. That was the first green candle in Nvidia. I hate to tell you, you're not going to find the strength today in the chips. Nvidia is raising prices, and everyone else is raising money. Samsung was raising money. They got pumped overnight, and you're wondering, well, what's the next shoe to drop? Because why are we even surprised? Like at this point, we should be pricing in that these companies are doing offerings and selling bonds because we know it's coming. And then when it gets announced, they smack the stock anyway. So it doesn't even matter that we're now expecting it. Like Baba got hit on the same story as well. Again, ETH is one more tick from getting to the top. But I got to start thinking about if it gets to the high and pulls back, it hasn't extended far enough that I'm thinking automatically VWAP. I still think maybe play it off of the low at 18.7 and try to be getting fills between 7 and 8 instead of above the volume weighted average price. And sort of speaking about Alibaba, that held up nicely. Baba, if you don't break the low, there's only one place to go. Baba wicked the bottom, got destroyed on Friday, another down day today, again, because they're raising money, right? By diluting, so everyone seems to be doing it. It's all the rage, so everyone just kind of follows them off the ledge, but it could regain that VWAP and at least be something kind of strong. Moderna had to get away from it. It gave you the buck on the breakout, but if you hold on to it through VWAP, you're just basically getting smoked another $5. So Moderna is headed right back down for that 130 level and not looking very good at all. Lucy, disappointment. Like every single time I get excited that this stock is going to break, it goes right to 110 without breaking it. It pulls back and it's just simply trying to hold the higher low again. It might be I might just try to see if I can slither in front of VWAP instead of taking a breakout trade on this stock.
All right, slither in. I'm more of a I'm more
What's
I mean,
the
I'm
other
more of
one?
a Slytherin than a Hufflepuff kind of guy.
Yeah.
There's a few different things. I don't know who wants to be
There it
Hufflepuff
is.
or not, but Hufflepuff there. And then the other one was, what's the purple one?
Ravenclaw.
Ravenclaw.
And then the good
got
guys
one.
are Gryffindor.
Right.
Yeah, I was going to say, like,
Where's our sorting hat?
there's the one.
Okay, so 67. Yeah, I mean, first of all, SpaceX, we took another piece out there at 133.50. We do now have just underneath 20% of this trade. And I was thinking about, breaking it out again if we do take out its 25 period moving average. So it looks like it's trying to do that right now, 134.50. So we're gonna adjust our stop loss to 134.50 and just get out of half of what we have on that one. We'll go 134.60s, and then we'll just punch out of half of what we have left on that one. We'll make sure we cancel our other stop order, put that in, and again, this is a 25 period moving average. And this trade was a risk of 30 cents. So now $4 in the money. So, risking 30 to make 300 plus pennies, not bad on that one, but we do have to stop out if it does take this 25 period moving average as it gets a little lower right now. And I was actually thinking about shorting the market if we did break. It's not the ES. ES is fine. It's only down 0.36. It's the NASDAQ right now that actually, there's been times where we've bounced back in this market, and the time might be around now. Now 10.14 coming back in. We do have some nice lows there, 28.9. I mean, if we zoom this back out, maybe on the TQQs, if we just type in TQQ, are we going to find a level that we can maybe trade off of here? I mean, because the market's down today, you're not going to find too many levels from last week. I think we're below mostly where we were last week. So yeah, a little bit of a bump up. If we can get that, great for a short. But if we zoom back out a bit, we're going to have to go into a longer time frame here to find out maybe where we're thinking about bouncing now on the TQQs. So, here's a 15-minute chart that we could possibly look at. You can see right now the RSI pretty low. Now the NASDAQ, not doing well, man, down another 1.5%. I feel like this wants to get lower, and we just got to find a spot to build into more shorts right now for the TQQs. And just right now is a decent spot, man. You're at the 25 period moving average. So this could be a decent look right now for the Qs. So I'm going to start a position now at 24s. And I don't want to give it too much love because, again, the last time we broke above it broke above it for about, that was 68.45. The highest we got was 57. So let's give this one literally 68.40s. And if we break above, then we can just stop out right now. I mean, we could actually even give it, what is that, 60s? Let's stop out at 41 for now because I don't want to, give back sort of what we've done here on SpaceX. So we'll take a little bit of a position here against a 20. Looks like it's going to go against us because I was literally thinking about this spot, 56s maybe. All right, we don't have a whole bunch of shares. Let me just adjust that then. Let's put another offer here at 40, and then we'll see about getting out on a break of 60, right? Like this little level right into there, which kind of does match with our 50 period moving average. Just give it a little bit more room here on the short for the trade as it's only 10:15, potentially lower today. Although the Nasdaq already being down 1.5, right? I don't know. How's Ethereum doing? I mean, Bitcoin's doing great.
Oh, sorry. I thought I was putting a different super chat up there. Well, yeah, Rustam, we'll take a look at Stack very quickly here for you. Stack was the one from last week, I want to believe. I don't think it's doing anything today, although up 7% would be good for most. It's a dollar stock. Keep asking. Keep putting super chats. We appreciate you. And I'll say the same thing. It's holding a dollar, but it's not doing anything with the dollar. You can hold the level. You got to bounce from the level. You got to have some kind of a catalyst. And Stack doesn't seem like it has it. This is the super chat that we have up next, and that'll be from Adam James Abroad, who would like to do a shot of tequila.
Okay.
Well,
do more than that.
Well, it's an inside joke. Because if you were here about an hour or 2 hours ago, someone said every single time Sean says SpaceX, you have to do a shot of tequila and something. What was the other thing? It was something else.
Tequila. Oh, yeah, tilapia sushi, but we're not doing that. No. I don't have the menu, though, today, so I'm not sure exactly what that's going to entail, but that does sound pretty disgusting there on the tilapia side of things. But no, I mean, I know it's just a joke inside out, but disgusting. I mean, this is now, honestly, I love trading SpaceX because of the moves it gives you, right? And so I'm almost, like I said, just under 20% right now, bidding again at 133. But hey, man, here's another trade that's working out. We're going to try to go 2 for 2 with the hot dog cannon. Watch out for those glizzies right now. As we're bidding 11s. Can we get it right now? Down there, give it to us. Just a random price that we are bidding. And there it goes. Yes, sir. Spin it one more time for the money trade. Coming back in there on the TQs. Let's see how low can we go now. And we just wanted to short the futures and catch it there on a little bit of a move higher into the 50-period moving average. I mean, we can obviously start to close this little gap now because now 68.50 is a spot. But I'm going to bid one more time out here at 11s as maybe that's a bouncing spot. I don't know how we picked it, but we're going to bid 11s one more time. I am bidding 68 flat. That's basically been the low. It has been the low of the day right there. So we'll see if we get 11. Oh, we did get 11 one more time. Okay. So we have a couple outs right now. We only have 70% left. We got out of 30% there because it was almost that 1-to-1. So now we'll wait to see if 68 can come through on that one. But yeah, that's all for me that I'm looking at here. We can have a quick little look to see what's going on in the stock visualizer if you do have that up and what stocks you guys want us to talk about. This DAIC has halted a bunch of times again. See, Adam James Abroad and everybody else, I mean, you're the one forcing us to talk about this. There's SpaceX again. S dot we haven't looked at yet, or maybe we did early.
Early, but not.
Yeah, $29. This name's been a halting name as well. S dot. And again, I can't remember. Oh, that's Lucy because the white on white there.
It's trying, but it's not doing much of anything on Lucy. It's
Bitcoin,
really just
Meta, Apple, Disney. Okay.
Bitcoin. By the way, Bitcoin just double tapped the high of the day. But obviously ETH did the same thing as well. But if it pulls back in here, I don't mind. Look, it's whichever even sets up the easiest for me, Bitcoin and ETH, because it's not like before. They're basically doing the exact same thing today. There's not one that's better than the other. So whichever one just has a better entry on a bottom tail or a bounce off VWAP is going to be fine by me. But Lucy, don't give up on Lucy. I don't love Lucy yet, but it hasn't really taken out that top, but you're still getting an uptrend. So it could break out that 110. And if it's along through there, I'd just stop out underneath the $1 level, put it at like 99 cents and walk away. But we're walking up to the desk for the small cap recap.
Yeah, nice pun there, Neil. We will discuss some Lucy right here as well. Go over the catalyst for you guys again. But let's start with Expion 360 XPON. They had a couple different announcements today, both right before 8:30 a.m. The first one, ACK was acquiring for $3.425 million in cash this Eastern Louisiana oil and gas exploration prospect. They've also appointed Kevin Sellers, the CEO, effective as of today, August 24th. The company will be renamed Expion Energy. Expion Energy also commenced a $9 million offering of just over 2 million shares at $4.25 per share. Stock currently trading around $7. You've got a almost $6.5 million market cap and an 890,000 share float. So that float, pretty significant here. LUCY, Innovative Eyewear is the name of this company. The ticker, of course, often referred to as Lucy. They announced a strategic alliance with HTC for the U.S. commercialization of the Vive Eagle Smart Eyewear line. LUCY has just under $9 million market cap, 7.97 million share float. This is a name that's also traded higher in the past, so it's what we call a repeat offender. In focus and quite volatile is DAIC, not seeing any news for CID Holdco, $4.4 million market cap, 1.34 million share float. So all of these floats, guys, are going to be sub 10 million shares. Back to you.
I think
They're all tiny floats. That's the story lately has been short float it's a nice bonus if you have a high short float, but it's actually even better if you're just one of those random low float stocks. It just seems like that's a better way to go. So when you're doing your screeners, maybe small preference to, hey, does the float under 5 million shares? Is it under 1 million and it's going? And then you're sometimes absolutely laughing. Yeah, Moderna is close to, it's almost at the double bottom or effectively at the double bottom, but it was 130. We liked a little bit better with a 129 low from Thursday. It's very weak, so you'd have to, like, I did like it better as a breakout trade above VWAP if it's going to make that retracement. So catching the falling knife is not as appealing here. Okay, Lucy's trying again. I'm not going to break out on ETH, but we have to reevaluate. If it's going to break out the highs, then once it takes out the top, then the dip is VWAP. Then forget about the lows. Once it's broken out the high, then I'm looking for the VWAP dip instead of the reload underneath 1880. 1875 seems like it would be a little bit ideal. And I bet you Alberta VWAP, there you go. MSTR is breaking higher. Michael Saylor will be happy about this. A few up days in a row. Watch out for 135 in the coming days on that bad boy. What's our friend Intel doing? Because we missed the two shorts I liked were going to be Intel
off the bottom, same as Nvidia.
Intel and DRAM. But this is barely, it's not at VWAP yet, but it's getting pretty darn close to it. So I think the shot to get the VWAP short is coming up pretty quickly here on INTC. Yeah, so it's really just been two things for me, and it wasn't even the top two things on the list. Because my first thoughts were DRAM and Intel short, but again, you had to be sitting in that at 9:30, or even just sitting it in the pre-market, because there was no bid. There was just no chance to get it. So ETH continues to rally. Oh, there was another strong name. We're talking about relative strength and weakness on days like today. How about this? Would you have been guessing that when the Nasdaq's down, that Bloom would make a V-shaped recovery? Maybe not the one that I thought would go, especially with the rest of AI getting smacked today. It is Bloom Energy, not green, but it is breaking out. So shout out to anyone who managed to catch this dip and a good look. Maybe
I don't know if you recall, it was Nancy Pelosi, right?
It's just
the buyer of Bloom.
I know, it's just more of the.
So that might be part of
that's it. Like you're at the point where that's the reason that a major stock, when the rest of the sector is down, is going to be up.
Yep.
Is because Nancy Pelosi bought it.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the first time, I guess, right?
It's kind of whatever.
Well,
it is what it is.
Yeah, that is what it is, right? I mean, that's the market, and we all know about it. That's why there's that stock to talk about that. We do have a reload, and so far so good. Let's go. Wow, I mean, just bounced off a little bit there. We should have put some bids in the mid-20s there, but we didn't. We were waiting for low 20s right now. So here goes the TQs. We did reload that position a little bit on the short side. There we go. We'll take a fill at 26 is there. We are waiting for lower. I'm bidding some at 20. Maybe that comes in there as hopefully the market gets just a little bit lower for us now as we watch out for the NASDAQ coming back in. $100 coming through. We want to say thank you so much for that one. No matter if Fibonacci, anchors, tea leaves, astrology, if you're making good profits, that is you. That is right, man. Take credit for your deduction and intuition. So write it down. My inspirations is Statler and Waldorf, if you follow the Muppets.
Yes.
So we've talked about that a couple of times here on the show.
Love
ho, 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 ho. There, GLD. Pisces, this man is as well. Shout out to @Adam James Abroad. So this man here, David, making some money, and we definitely like to hear when that is happening to our listeners. So congratulations on that one. And congratulations to anybody that also took the futures trading here with me, because that name is starting to kick it a little bit here to the upside. So we're happy with what's been happening there on the TQs as the reload coming back into 68.20. So that name seems to want to go bump in the night a little bit. And we are now short at 68.36s and just trying to capture a little bit more there at 17. And then we're going back down to the downside. We'll see if we get another bid at 11s again. Let's go to 12s where we were last time, but so far so good here. SpaceX lower, market lower, and we'll go over to Neil.
Absolutely, and Intel also lower. Well, the market, Intel, all the chips are looking pretty weak. But you know what? All the weakness in the market can be taken advantage of if you're prepared. And if you want to be prepared, then you want to get that morning note every day that Sharif is here. It's something that the members all can get. In addition to just getting the morning note every single day for $4.99 a month, you get members-only videos, posts, custom emojis, and loyalty badges. We're talking about 25 cents a day if you look at how many trading days there are. So come in, join, become a member. You get, it's like you said, you get the note. It's about 15-ish pages long when Sharif is here, but the benefits for that price, I mean, what more can you ask for? Everyone's always charging more for things like that. So we appreciate everybody. And I always say this, we have so many viewers that gift memberships. And if you want to take advantage when that does happen, you need to be in the chat. And to be in the chat, you have to be a subscriber. So you subscribe, you join the chat, and then whenever memberships are gifted, if you have enabled gifts, then you can possibly get it. And we see KC and many others. I think David's done it as well. Appreciate everyone that does it. But everyone always asks, how do I get the memberships when they're gifted? Well, you got to be in the chat and active in the chat. And once you do that, you're absolutely good to go. So yeah, and thank you, Sharif. When he gets back here, you'll get that morning note just like normal. It didn't get to VWAP, but if you're going to show me topping tail candles, which is one of my favorite setups, there's one fail of 86. There's two fails of 86, topping tail, so standard entry. Give it to the prior high, which is 86.10, so the out would be literally at 11s. And the low of the day is out in front of 85 over there on Intel. ETH, do I like that? Do I like that topping tail enough as a break to get in at VWAP? I'm not sold that it's a reload at VWAP and not underneath there, but it's not there yet. We're still in an uptrend. Market might be going down, but this is still holding out that uptrend for now. If it gets underneath the volume weighted average price, then I'll be a bit more concerned. So the only new thing for me is that Intel trade. We're going to look for LOD. Is now the time? Wow, Moderna just caught a
bid, eh?
That's a bid. Moderna just caught a heck of a bid off the 130 level. Maybe it's going to squeeze again. Moderna doesn't have to care what the market does. You got a huge like this. It's possibly groundbreaking if this treatment can extend further than just one form of cancer, and there's not more there. You know, there's lots of shorts, not just caught. There's probably new ones that got in there thinking that this was too much too fast, and it hasn't fallen apart. Like, look at the chart from the day one. It just cannot break down. Like all the support levels from early on have not been, they just haven't faltered. So the shorts haven't really won the game at any point yet if they don't fill in some of that gap from day one. So yeah, good luck. And hopefully no one else has actually caught short this sucker, because we did. Well, I think we had somebody was saying it in the chat on Friday.
Oh yeah, maybe. I mean, look,
somebody will like the short. I forget.
Like last week we had a $25 winner on Moderna. We ended the week with like about an $8 or $9 winner off of 140. So there's definitely some juice into Moderna. And yeah, thanks for covering that one. And as people in the chat want us to look at, what's up, Tisha? BTCT. So here we go. BTC Digital name. This is not
that one.
This is not the name that the Trumps are in, is it? I don't know. But there it is, going to the upside there as we continue to hold out hope that the market can hold on to these bids, right? I mean, Bitcoin's been real super hot. I mean, we don't need to tell you guys about that. We've been sort of looking at it in BTC with nice movement to the downside. Was that a recent split there because of that movement that we're seeing there off of the bottom, or was that just... Maybe there was news about BTCT the other day, because that low of 43 cents just came in. Now it's up to $3. So potentially quite a large short float on BTCT here over the last, let me just look it up for you, Tisha. I'm sure you already know it, but I don't. So, all right, BTCT. What exactly is the news about this? So 23% short, 9 million shares on the short float. My news thing is not working out. Eyes operations within 2 months. Oh, Georgia crypto mining site. So announces a 10 megawatt cryptocurrency infrastructure there. So that might be ready within the next 2 months. So catching a nice little bid there today off of hopefully, a project that looks like it's good to go. So BTCT right there, nice upside play right into $283 again. To me, it's a short at these levels just because of it's up 123%, Tisha, but we'll see if it does break above that 280. I'd say you could go short now against that 280, but I know a lot of you are long, so as long as we're holding this 25 period moving average, looks good to me, and we haven't really broken that since this move happened back there at 150. So look out for a little bit of a bid coming in around 2 to 220 here on BTCT. So far so good on a decent look there, Tisha. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, it is That's a good-looking stock.
TQ's just popped through there on the NASDAQ.
Yeah, Intel, this will end up having to be a flat trade. It's not at VWAP yet, but the entry wasn't volume-weighted average price. The entry was these topping tail candles, so once they break out, you just got to jump away. Could have been more aggressive scalping the first move, but you know what? At this time of day, it's 10:30. Usually this is when you're thinking, either you're in the trend or you're playing the reversion at this point. And the reversion would have been to the long side, but we didn't like long on Intel. Unfortunately, MRNA, for all of that juice, it goes right to VWAP and it's starting to slow down. I'd much rather, if you don't have the low, I want it breaking out above and then starting to squeeze. Maybe even like a 137 break a little bit later on. We do see Bitcoin and ETH continue to rally. Bitcoin, or IBIT, just hit 45.10. Bitcoin is at 75.9. So 79.6. So 80,000 is an obvious level on Bitcoin. ETH is at, I never refreshed this one. Yeah, just above 25. So I feel like if we get to 80,000, I know I'm in ETHA, but I would suspect we could find a bit of a top. I have an offer just in case we spike 80,000 and then come right back in. I have an offer way up there in ETH just in case we get pegged. But when I see that 80,000, if I see it fail, it's like jump out and look for some kind of a dip there. Crypto strong. Markets trying to follow upside. Now they're going together, but there was always strength here. And I keep looking at that small capper, Lucy. What is this thing doing? Like where? At some point, like stop holding the level and actually break out the top, Lucy. You're up 45%. You've got volume. You're supposed to have a catalyst. It just doesn't seem to want to go. But of all of the small cappers, it's the one with the cleanest setup. Like it's just riding this VWAP trend line. It won't actually give you the entry. And now I'm going to jinx it if I look at it. It's going to fall down. It's going to go down because I'm talking about it. So we'll just look away for a second.
I wanted to, often that is the case, right? Where you're looking at
if you stare at it, it's not.
The next thing happens and you're like, what the hell? But yeah, we're saying 86.50. I'm going to go long on an 86.50 break of Intel. Not a break of VWAP. Let's go through and then we'll use VWAP as some support there. So if we can get 86.50 long, we'll do that. And then we'll see about 86.35 or so as some sort of a holding spot there. So just to give you guys a little bit of an update, that's what I'm doing right now into this space. I'll take a coffee if you're going to get one, sure. So that's what we're doing. 86.50 long break, hopefully incoming now on my guy INTC. So we're going to go long on that. Even though we did like the short initially, the short was right. Look at the market trying to battle back. Look, we're flat on the TQs. Unfortunately, that last little bit did give it back up. Nothing I can do about that. Get stopped out at that spot, took some profit, took an out, flat trade completely there on BTC. And then there's an out on SpaceX, finally breaking that 134.50. Got some great outs downside. Now we can stop out the rest at 135.50. If it, 165. See, that's how you make mistakes. 135.61, we'll put a stop out there of 100% of what we have left on this stock. Good positive day, man, today, that's for sure. But it's all on the back of SpaceX because TQ's is flat. SpaceX was a good one there to the downside. All right, DAIC, no Sharif, no problem. These are some of the small cap names that are moving around. We want to thank Adair for a small cap recap. But 1 Halt, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Feel like we're the count over here, but 10 coming probably for DAIC. This is the longest it's been open now. Well, actually, no, it was open for 3 minutes right there and then halted in its third minute, but we're going to have to wait to see if DAIC can remain open. We do have the limit up, limit down bands on these things, but so there it is. Just saw it there, 142. There it is. It's going to halt if it breaks above 142. Right now, limit up, limit down right there. So there's 142. Are they going to hit it? If it just break, there it goes. If it just breaks down, that was live, as you saw there, limit up and down levels breaking and holding. So that's what that looks like when that happens. There now, see if it can hold it again. 142. There doesn't seem to be enough action on that one to even look at it, but that is what's going on over there. All right, so Neil's back and forth on Bitcoin. Just quickly on gold, and we'll get going. We do have Jackson Hole later on this week where I feel like gold will probably move on that. I mean, we can look at the historical moves that have happened into Jackson Hole, but again, we're looking for more forward looks from the Fed, right? I mean, we haven't really been able to see exactly how aggressive they're going to be with some of these cuts, although there was a few dissents the last meeting they had, now September the 16th. This is going to be a great opportunity to see exactly what the Fed is thinking. Q&As happen, prepared speeches. Everybody wants to know, what about that longer end of the yield curve? You know, at multi-year highs right now for the 10 and 30 year. 60% right there looking for a rate stabilization, 40% chance for a rate hike come in September, right? And if you zoom it back out into this December, that's where it's more likely. Basically, December is only showing one rate hike. You know, 25% chance for 4, that would be 2, or that we go right back to where we are right now. So it's kind of interesting to see where that is in December. The long end of the rates kind of seem pretty stable out for the rest of the year. We'll see if some of that changes at Jackson Hole, which is why I think Bitcoin wants to just keep on trending a little bit higher there, because they're definitely not going to talk about crypto as we see fit. Uber, also another name, trying to break above 80 would be really nice. Ooh, cheese in a chair, P-U-R-R? Are you trolling or is this a real name? All right, Hyperliquid. I talked about Hyperliquid last week, but that was HYPR, that was Hypefire there. But this one here, Hyper, P-U-R-R. Maybe Derek can, yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's too full. Yeah, the kitty cat there. Thanks, Neil, for the drink. $12 right there. Looks like a recent high. So, you know, thanks for cheesing a chair for this one, because it is looking like it's coming back up into $12. Oh, yeah, and by the way, those cheese dispensaries should start to make some, like now that we're getting back into NFL season.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, what's up, Adara?
Okay, so I remembered what happened with that Hyperliquid. One of the people at the Trump event last week mentioned Hyperliquid, and we have to bring it to the US. That's why.
Okay, yeah, I did hear it last week, and I got it confused with HYPR, but this one, yeah, definitely did the upside right there. I don't know enough about the technology or anything to know exactly what's going on with it, but when President Trump and the rest of the gang are talking about it, probably worth a bid. And you know, you saw that 7 to 12, and it's just straight upside right now. Yeah, still waiting out. Doesn't look like, I mean, I'm still excited to take that Intel break. It has slowed down a little bit there at VWAP. Maybe it's a short. You know what? I still like to take the long there, especially if the futures do battle back. So yeah, let's hold out hope that Intel does have a breakthrough 8650, and we're able to hold a little bit of that one if it does get going higher. SpaceX 135.50 is the stop. And then one more, and I'll throw it back to Neil, because Robinhood has been really hot fire with crypto going. And right now with crypto down to 78, bouncing so smooth off 78. I wish we had, you know, been sitting there, which we should have been. But Hood right now trying to go as well. This could be a little silent hitter today, Robinhood, if the market does continue to go higher. We've seen this name definitely have legs underneath it. Back to 109 now for Robinhood is possible, where we were earlier on today. All right, it's Adara, then we'll come back. Only 20 minutes left in our show. And I already see Obi is here, locked and loaded for the midday, so that should be a lot of fun. But let's go back over to Adara, and we'll take some more questions and get ready for the midday.
The sector board made me smile because it's an interesting one, and then you have a lot of sectors that are very directional. You've got, for example, strength across retail trade, strength across consumer services. Seeing some talk about Disney both in our chat and online. Disney apparently now in a bull market, up 20% or so over the last month. Commercial services strong, health services relatively strong, consumer non-durable strong, finance incredibly strong, with MA and Visa, both of these Trump buys over the last, I think this is on June 18th, he purchased both stocks. They're to the upside. Now let's talk about what's weak, because there are some sectors that are struggling a lot here. Health tech to the downside, Merck leading the way. You've got producer manufacturing weak, industrial services mostly weak, and electronic technology, with the exception of Apple, and that Apple inverse trade continuing here. You've got Apple green, but then weakness across the chips and across the memory names. Intel, AMD both down 3+% each. TXN to the downside, KLAC to the downside. Marvell, which reports later this week alongside Nvidia, though they're on different days, also to the downside. Micron, STX, SanDisk. It is a bad look if you are a chip or a memory play. It's also a bad look if you're some of these SaaS names. Now, I say some because they're not all weaker, but if you look at technology services, Palantir, Oracle, Palo Alto Networks, all to the downside. AppLovin also down 2.5%. That being said, Netflix to the upside. They're reportedly considering changing up their streaming service that they offer some rivals, some competitors like Fox and Peacock. I, for one, think that'd be a really cool opportunity for them, trying to compete with the Rokus and the Amazons of the world, but offering more services. But either way here, you also have strength in the likes of Google and Microsoft. So it's not just Netflix, but the names that are selling off are very much in that SaaS-mageddon space. Producer manufacturing, energy minerals, and consumer durables also weak. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe. Stay tuned as we send you over to Sean and Neil.
Thank you there. Thank you, Adara, as always. And wow, now you're starting to see some acceleration.
I think he said the
to the upside. Like here comes. Oh, come on, Q's.
Next open.
There we go. Like look at it's like a blowout through VWAP over there. Like Tesla as well. I want to grab that coffee. Tesla broke out big time. And if it closes the gap, 360 looks like an obvious level. I'm just going to go with trend line. We're now 79.8 on Bitcoin. ETH is following suit. ETH isn't at a big technical level, but I'm feeling like we get to 80,000 and you can look for some kind of reverse. So just a couple of ticks higher. And at some point, I think we're going to reverse that trend. I'll slap a trend line on this just so I can have a trailing stop in. But once we get to 80K, I'll be looking for definitely the exit, if not a potential reversion play off the 80,000. Lucy still just does nothing, man. I don't know. MOA in the chat. Lucy is trying to pop, but it's not getting it done. It's just sitting here doing nothing. Eventually, the longer it holds out, the better chance that you get a break. But it's getting a little bit ridiculous. The stock just doesn't seem to want to go. The memory names, which have been beaten up the worst, I don't want to say the worst. I'm sure there's a random stock out there that's done worse than the memory name. But as a group, if you're looking at big cap tech, it has been Micron, SanDisk, SK Hynix, DRAM's down 6.5, and that's coming off of the lows. It's now at VWAP. If we fail and we close under VWAP, I'll have my first short of the day in the stock that we thought, ETF, that we thought would be the first place we'd be looking. But like we said, if your plan of action, you can, I liked short, but the plan of action wasn't break of the low. It was short the pops. I liked into 56.5, 57.5. They were just never a bid. Never a bid at any point. It looks like they got enough to get it into VWAP. But if it closes underneath, that's an entry. If it's breaking out, I'm not trying to fight this little V shape that the market's trying to put on.
Yeah, no, it's been a relatively, I don't know, like screw face market. Like I'm looking at it like, I don't know. Nice move down, a little bit of a bid there, trying to hold VWAP right now on the bid side of things, but not really holding with any confidence. You know, the volume's at lows right now. This is, and then, we want to thank everybody for watching, but I do want to remind everybody, first of all, hit the like, hit the subscribe. That would be greatly appreciated, but it's also very much so summertime trade. And I mean, I even looked at the watch list today, and although it was a great watch list, there wasn't like any of those huge, monster stories that sometimes you come in on a Monday and it's like, okay, president's saying this, or there's a new buyout somewhere, or, something has sparked a little bit of action. Like if there was a new buyout in the XBI, maybe you'd have something there, and that would be the biotech names.
Yeah, there were no deals.
Yeah, it's just kind of a very quiet sort of day, which is fine. I mean, that's why we've been sitting in the names that we are. DAIC right now, 14.5 million shares. No quiet here on this name, Andre, as it's halted a couple times back and forth, now tapping 183. The reason why I'm not going over this that much is like the taps are always within pennies and then it just halts. So, whether or not this breaks the high of the day, I think that's maybe where you want to get excited. It's now hovering around VWAP there. We did have Hyper Liquid, a little bit of a move there, and Per, I think that was a good talk there, 1140 high, pulling back into 1120, potential long zone right now, and Per setting up. Like Alibaba's had a nice run to the high side. There was a couple names recently that I was thinking about I needed to buy somewhere because of some of the moves down, but they're all in tech space, and I don't necessarily want to buy any tech names. But Alibaba was a good look. I think this is maybe what it was, bouncing off its 50-period moving average, right? Stuck in between the 200 and the 50. Alibaba off earnings last week was a good story. I still think China and the United States, although the United States right now for some reason just like pointing right at Canada. Not much we can do about that, obviously, but yeah, not a great look for us. Now, maybe China comes back into look at some point there for the United States, and Alibaba gets going to the upside if there's some good talk about China. Now, I don't know if there, like I said, don't know if there's going to be any good talk with Canada, China, US, and China. But yeah, so far, Alibaba to the upside right now in a down market. So that would be an interesting look there. And then I still wait with only 15 minutes left in our show. Doesn't mean we're going anywhere, but I'm still looking at Intel to potentially make a move here as well. So INTC trying to break above 86.50. That's a level that I'm interested in there, 86.50 for myself on Intel.
Oh, speaking of the Chinese names, I believe it was Burry?
Michael?
It might have been Burry that got out of Alibaba as it bounces off the lows in favor of, I believe it was JD.com. And JD has not been as good. I just find like the irony of Alibaba gaps down and is the one that's making the bounce back higher. That's what happens when you get out of your position. Like, oh, they try to bounce for you a little bit. We'll see. One thing it's definitely not bouncing, which you can call it like it is. I don't know how much oil is really moving the markets anymore, but for what it's worth, it's very quiet. Like this whole economic D-Day that's supposed to be today, well, tell that to any shock in oil prices. We were going a little bit higher in the pre-market, and all you've done is reverse it. So even in the midst of this morning's weakness, USO has been dragging down. I think that's a positive. The fact that we're not really ramping higher is good. No one seems to be too concerned that we're going to get a recent breakout here or that things are going to get too much worse. But you got to recognize the fact we've already gone on a pretty good run. Another place that we haven't looked at since the open was, I have a button for this.
Yeah, get those buttons. Yeah.
Shout out to one of the funniest Canadians.
That was a good one.
Of all time. You can see why probably traders are a little bit more interested in trading like ETH or Bitcoin because they're just a little bit better in trending, although, hey, you could be breaking that trend. I'm going to slip out if we break this prior low on ETH. But gold, inside day. Up day, but inside day. Won't break the high, won't break the low. Not much happening there. There's nothing wrong with consolidation. I think consolidating in an up market is actually pretty productive. People look away for a while. But on the flip side of it, for whatever reason, silver just doesn't have it. SLV, like it gets up here. It's also not breaking the high, but notice how it's under VWAP and weaker. If there's a big time reverse in gold, I think the short is better in SLV than it is in gold. Something about this just doesn't have the juice in it today. And not even just, it's not just today. It's felt like there's been a couple of days like this where ETH just, not ETH, but silver just sort of languishes a gold move. So we've trailed out now on ETH, kind of took that high, failed back underneath that prior high, breaking the trend line. So I'll be looking for 1875 reload. We're a little tight to VWAP. It's not much of a drop to get to the volume weighted average price. So I'll still be thinking about an 1875 entry and then the low of the day as an out. But this is the place that we want to go long on any kind of a dip. Hold that upward trend on the longer time frame and join what was already the strongest, right? And this is what worked on Friday, and IBIT worked the day before that, but they're just strong. They're gapping and they're continuing higher, but you do have to be patient when it dips. And when it dipped in the afternoon, here like 2 o'clock, it came all the way in and gave you the volume weighted average price. Didn't go to the high of the day again, but if you were patient to wait for VWAP, you got it, and it was a clean bounce.
So here we go. Looks like we are only 10 minutes away, first of all, from the midday show. I want to thank everybody for watching. Yeah, like I'm going to go long on Intel on an 8650 break. It's just, this 25 period has been good, and we kind of rode that for SpaceX, which was pretty good. When we were just at 8630 there and it didn't look like we were going to break, okay, SpaceX just broke up, so that's great. 135.50, not great because we were short, but exited all of the positions. Oh, it breaks 135.50, then just comes right back down into VWAP again. But we're out now of SpaceX again. Going to be the big trade for me on the day and just hold out to see what happens next. But yeah, that 86.50 there on Intel is what I'm looking at. Looks like we just bounced clean off of 86.50 there. We'll take like 2 units. We'll take it's not necessarily moving around. I mean, we can hold this all the way back. My stop is going to be 86. So if we break back down below, it's worth 50 cents here, I think, anyways, on Intel. Hopefully it does go and break. We could get that fake and break. I'm just talking about this because we're going to go over to Adara. So, back down into the 20s, we could sort of start the bid there as we just try to bounce a little bit off of that level now. And if I still want to go long. It's just a matter of if we break. So if we break 86.50, we take it. If we come back into the 25 period, we'll look to take that as well and then stop out through $86. So just a little bit of an idea there on Intel. Let's go back over to the desk right now with Adara. Catch Money Talks and see if this trade, hits by the time we get back.
Hey guys, here's the US dollar. US dollar actually poised for its 3rd straight green day, though, again, as you zoom out, it's clear technically, not a great look here. We had sort of a double top or a higher low, no matter how you want to slice it. Kind of a bearish looking pattern happening in early July on the daily chart for the US dollar. We've not been able to recover since. Now, next level here of potential, previous support could form as resistance is around that 99.38 level, currently trading around 98.97. So we've got a little while to go. Let's talk here about the CME FedWatch tool, because we're going to get some comments later this week from Fed Chair Kevin Warsh. Now, I was just reading, pretty much as we expected, Warsh is not seen as very likely to give us any kind of indication as to what he and the Fed are going to do with rates. We don't really expect him to. He keeps things very close to the vest. He's notorious for that. But either way here, we've got roughly a 60% chance of rates being held here at the September 16th, 2026 meeting, 40% chance of a hike. So that 60-40 coming back into play. It'll be interesting to see again if these comments that we potentially get from Warsh do change the tides here. But another event that could change the tides comes through on Wednesday at 8:30 a.m. So just over 48 hours before Warsh's comments begin. And that event on Wednesday morning is the PCE data. PCE, that is seen as the Fed's preferred inflation gauge. I already have an infographic going back to 1 year of PCE data. That's on X at TTV Research to check out. If you look forward at probabilities, we're seeing that we could be getting a hike December of 2026, potentially another hike in June of 2027, then coming back down here by 25 basis points December of 2027. So we'll have to wait and see if all of that comes to fruition. But either way, at least one hike is expected over the next 6 to 9 months. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Adara. Yeah, we actually looked at that rate hike story earlier, and yeah, good one. I wonder, it was SpaceX there trying to break above. Well, we got stopped out on it, which is fine, obviously. But that might be the better VWAP break right there on SpaceX. But as we still wait for Intel, maybe Intel's a nothing burger today. I only want to go there because we were looking at the short a little bit higher. Even Nvidia's underneath. Yeah, you know what? I just don't want to be here to watch that trade. If it breaks, it breaks. But I'm going to cancel the Intel. It's too much in its. It's like it's in its own feelings over here. It's just back and forth between 86.50 and 86 right now. I don't think this is looking like something that I really want to take at this time. Better off doing something with a little bit of juice behind it. And obviously it's down 4%. It has lots of juice, but it's not moving like the way, here's Netflix breaking underneath VWAP and going. So, this could be a decent short here as we look at it. SpaceX now above 136 and going right back up to day's high again, it looks like now for SpaceX. So that could be the next thing to look at if you're going to make a trade anywhere on SPCX. NVIDIA, the other one we had was IBIT. That's now 79.4. So IBIT continues to climb higher. The only missed trade for me on IBIT was I wrote down 78,000, but when it got there, we didn't do anything about it. There it comes down in. $44 was a great long for IBIT. You should be in the money $1 on this name. We had, again, on our list, the number one idea today was IBIT, and we wrote down 78,000, but missed it on the pullback in. Was looking for 43.50 where we closed. We never thought we were getting there. It was always going to be the 200 period, but just got away from it. So that's been a good worker so far there today. And this is what's been pumping on the trade rate. SpaceX, Nvidia, SoxL, Apple's been having a day, right? Another red NASDAQ day today, and pretty good red anyways, down 1%. Apple up 1% right now. So yeah, good high there for Apple. Maybe it's seen its best days today. Google down 1.3%, MSTR up 4, which is nice. SanDisk was down 10, now down 8. So there are some names that are catching a little bit of a bid here. And you know what? Here comes Intel again, right back up to 86.50. Maybe it does want to go. I don't know, man. But a good hold there. Do we try 86.50 long on Intel? I don't know, man. Nothing else really halting. That DAIC halted again, same kind of levels there. But yeah, it's just Intel dancing around this 86.50 marker. I don't know if anybody else is looking at it, but Lucy, I guess, back and forth through $1.
Yeah, it is, and I might get away from the DRAM idea as well as the volume weighted average price as I'm looking up at it. I don't know if that one wants to go. So Lucy failed to break. It went 4 cents if you're interested in 4 cents. Oh no, this chart's gonna. Okay, didn't crash. I got those rings which usually tell me that my chart's gonna crash. Yeah. But then we break out, fail to break. Like I said, you could have had 3, maybe 4 cents if you're fast. Came back into the dollar level, broke the dollar, immediately retook the level with a refresher, but that refresher is just sitting there now. If it gets back under VWAP, that'll be like 96 cents. So the other play is going to be 1, give it to 96. 1-to-1 will be, I mean, the 1-to-1's at 104, but I'm sitting at 106. So if it holds on to the dollar level, it's more important that VWAP holds. I'm in it exactly $1 on that bad boy. And what I was talking about for DRAM here is, I don't know, it just seems to be pressing higher, like the short's not ready yet. See how it just keeps on going, going, going. I want there to be either a big topping tail, maybe a volume spike. Look at how low the volume has gotten on this. Like, do something to get people trapped into a long over VWAP, or like a heavier second drop to jump into the short side of the trade for DRAM. And ETH, we'll try the reload in Bitcoin or ETH, one or the other, whichever one I like at VWAP. ETH is not there yet. IBIT, it's so close to 80,000 that almost ideally you drop a little bit further. Like, I want this to drop further away from 80K so that you can have a good run up into it, as opposed to this shallow move, then we lose 80K and you have no room to run. So that's what we'll be watching during lunchtime for sure. Obviously, we didn't get the actual lunch menu, which kind of sucks.
Yeah, it was fun to do that last week for a couple minutes, but
well,
I think we'll get it. As more and more people come back to the office, we'll probably get that lunch menu. What was on Friday? It was the wrap. The wrap was good on Friday.
It was quite possibly my favorite lunch ever. They had the cookies, you had the wrap, the
My favorite lunch ever has to be
salsa.
something warm, but yeah, no, it was good. No
The
disagreement.
cookies were delicious. I had a couple extra ones.
Yeah, Joe hooked those up there.
They were pretty sweet, man.
Yeah,
I'm
they
really
were good.
not
Yeah.
hating on them at all.
It did have a decent, the coleslaw was also very nice there. All right, man, we have a new position, and it's just, so we'll just hit sirens. I did take the Intel. We did lower it there a little bit on the amount of volume or shares that we would take on this. But as I thought, like, there's always a chance it breaks and runs. There's always a chance that it breaks and fakes. So now I am sitting down here at 21 to double the position. Again, it just missed us down there at 21s. But to double the position and then use 86 as our out. So taking a little bit of a shot now to see, let's go. I mean, I'm bidding 21. I'd hate for it to bounce off right now and not get long. What am I even using? Okay, there we are. Now we're long. What was I bidding there? Oh, I was bidding NASDAQ? Okay. Anyways, we get it now. There's my average price now, 36 is. So it looks like this could fall through. I mean, NASDAQ's not really moving. Intel wants to give a little bit back. We do have I do have the stop in there, a break of 86. So if that happens, man. We haven't broke the 50 period moving average since 10:30. So it's been about a good half hour trying to hold the bid there. Finally tries to run the top. We get in, so it's probably a sucker's trade. Yeah, maybe, I don't know. I thought the market could have had a chance of going. We do need Nvidia to go, but we need the whole space to go if Intel's going to work, I feel like. And, again, they kind of broke through 210 and came right back in. Now that's back down now 25 cents as well. So some of these names just continue to falter just a little bit. Let's go back over to AMD and see how that's doing. I mean, we don't need AMD for Intel to work, but so they all basically failed at VWAP there. So, a good one to look at for all of this is the SOXL or the SMH, something to have a quick look. And I'm going to guess, there it was. So everything ran to VWAP and now is pulling back in. And look, cry over spilled milk. I mean, this is 5 cents out right now on Intel. So, not really worth, losing sleep over, but that stop is on a break of 86. So if we do wind up going to the downside, then we'll be stopped out, of this trade at $86 and just call it a day right there. Not much else going on for me now. Just waiting for that Intel to get going there. Always looking at SpaceX, of course. Uber, Tesla was a good run today, especially if you were short early, and bouncing cleanly off 350. I mean, it doesn't get quite there, but really one downside move there and the rest upside as now you're trying to break above 359. So right there, but so far so good. I think maybe Nvidia.
Shout out to Chipotle, by the way.
Yeah, I thought that was a downgrade today.
Well, it's
Was it Joe Chipotle? I don't know.
If it was, somebody gonna get hurt real bad.
Yeah.
Up 3 points, and still, like, trending higher is the more important thing. Just watch out in the daily chart when this gets to $39, 39 and 42 look like resistance on Chipotle. Before we throw you to Joby, we have news on Nvidia, and Adara's gonna give it to you before we throw to the midday.
So SpaceX.
Yeah, SpaceX, Nvidia.
Both SpaceX and NVIDIA in focus here, guys. I am seeing that SpaceX AI, so that is the AI aspect of SpaceX here. They're planning to base their first-gen Starmind AI satellite on an optimized NVIDIA Vera Rubin NVL 72 systems. So NVIDIA and SpaceX apparently working together with SpaceX, planning that NVIDIA-powered AI compute in orbit. I would also watch AMD. We already know that Elon Musk previously said they're going to be purely sticking with NVIDIA. AMD not really reacting to this story. I was thinking it could be negative sympathy play. But either way, apparently on Earth, SpaceX AI is going to be deploying the NVIDIA Vera CPUs for agentic workloads and expanding the infrastructure behind Grok, G-R-O-K, on Vera Rubin as it scales towards gigawatts of compute capacity. Back to you.